Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway. An overcast night racing to determine who will make it into the chase. Sprint Cup Racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Ryan Newman, one of the drivers who has pointed his way into the chase before. He would love to get to victory lane and lock himself into the chase. Joey Logano has won multiple times. He's already in that chase. It's time for pre-race ceremonies. Let's go trackside now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Fort Lee Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as NASCAR Sprint Cup driver Michael McDowell offers tonight's invocation.
Would you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this great country that we could come and have a fantastic night of racing. We thank you for the men and women all across this world that are fighting to protect this great nation. We pray for those 43 children that stood in front of us. We pray for healing in their lives. We pray for their family. And we're just so thankful that you love us, and we're thankful that you provided this great evening for us to do something that's amazing and race for the chase. Lord, we thank you for your son, Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome the 29th Division Band from Fort Lee.
Really only 12 comfortable drivers getting into their cars now. The rest nervous, trying to make the chase. When we come back, we'll hear from the pit reporters and fire the engines. Welcome to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Because of rain that went through the area earlier, there will be a competition caution on lap 40. That's just one storyline that we're going to be following. For more of those, let's go to pit road. Mike Massaro.
And Rick, just moments ago, Denny Hamlin, nursing a very tender right knee with a torn ACL, climbed inside his race car very gingerly. But he's adamant. He said all weekend long it will not hamper his ability to drive this race car. And as he told us at the beginning of countdown tonight, he does not want to be the weak link on this race team. Dave Burns?
Jeff Gordon has won twice at Richmond, but he doesn't need to do that tonight to make it into the chase. Finishing 17th or better, he locks himself in to his 11th chase in 12 years. That 17th place number, crew chief Alan Gustafson told me, it's just a number. We won't be consumed by it. Marty?
Dave, there is tons of pressure up and down pit road, but there is zero pressure on Carl Edwards and his race team. I talked to Carl and Darian Grubb earlier today, and they told me after the win of the Southern 500, they come in here with an absolute smile on their face and a lighter step as well. Carl told me it's just like a Saturday night short track race for us. We're after one thing, a win, and that's it. Kelly.
Marty, Casey Kane has just one job to do tonight, and that is win this race to get his team back to the chase. He feels unfazed by the pressure if there is any. He's pulled off last-minute heroics before. Can he do it again tonight? He's got ground to make up. He starts 20th.
That is one of the big questions. Can Casey Kane win? Let's fire the engines. Let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome from Dorman Products, Bill Rooney.
Drivers, start your engine!
43 drivers are now in their office, and it's business as usual. Well, at least for some of them. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Smithfield. Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And by Januvia. Let's take a look at tonight's starting grid, brought to you by Smithfield Foods. Up in row 1, that's Joey Logano. Matt Kenseth, both have won this year. Logano swept both Richmond poles here this year.
Yeah, in row 2, we have 2 former Richmond winners, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch.
In row 3, we have Dagan Raven making his best Richmond start, and Kevin Harvick, the series defending champion.
And back in row 4, Carl Edwards, last week's winner, and Kurt Busch, who won the spring Richmond race.
Row 5, we have Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart, who needs a win tonight to make the playoffs.
And speaking of needing a win to make the playoffs, row 6 is made up of 2 guys like that, Kyle Larson and Austin Dillon, both looking for wins.
Back in row 7, Ryan Newman and Danica Patrick. This is Danica Patrick's best qualifying position in 2015.
See, row 8, we have Casey Mears. A win will get him into playoffs, and Martin Truex, who's already in.
Row 9 is made up of Brian Scott and Justin Allgaier. Brian Scott making his first ever Cup start here at Richmond.
Back in row 10, Casey Kane, the 2005 Richmond winner, needs a win if he wants to make it in the chase tonight.
Row 11, we have A.J. Allmendinger, another driver that needs a win tonight, and Paul Menard looking to clinch his first berth into the chase.
Row 12 is made up of Jeff Gordon and Eric Almirola. Jeff Gordon will be making his 46th and final start here at Richmond tonight.
Back in row 13, Denny Hamlin driving injured for his right ACL on Tuesday. And Clint Boyer, he has 2 Richmond wins and currently 16th in the points. Let's hear from him.
Hey, Clint, it's NBCSN booth. You with us?
I'll remind you after 3 laps to get your front brakes. 10-4.
Hey, Clint, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
It'd be helpful to have the brake switches off. Just the center ones, the brakes, not the beats.
You know, it's kind of important when those guys are talking about business like that.
We'll try again later. They're obviously busy.
And that happens sometimes. Obviously, before the cars roll out onto the track, the team's talking back and forth to the drivers. Different strategies going to come into play early in this race. One of the big things that we're going to talk about is the tire wear. I mean, the tires are going to fall off tonight. They're going to wear out.
Yeah, the tires are definitely going to lose grip as these cars run around this track tonight. But with a known first run, you have a competition yellow at lap 40. You know you're only going to run 40 laps on this first set on a green racetrack. It'll be interesting to see who decides to push it very hard and maybe move up through the field after their qualifying effort.
Rains pass through the area, but those are all out of the way and giving us a great view of this racetrack. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Doing a little bit of last-minute drying of the track is the reason for the cars not rolling off as quickly, but they are now. So 43 cars rolling off of pit road, the final race of the regular season. 8 of those cars will be carrying cameras. We'll be able to ride along with them, getting a different perspective of this short track. This track just 3/4 of a mile. Short track racing under the lights Saturday night. I don't know if it gets any better than that.
Yeah, Saturday night racing is great. This racetrack's great. All the drivers love it. Again, it's just like we talked about when the show started. It's close action. You're going to be racing against each other all night long. You're going to be door to door, bumper to bumper. It's what the fans have come to love about NASCAR racing. It's what the drivers love about NASCAR racing as well. Just to add a little more pressure.
Can you?
Yes.
Can you add more pressure?
The track's still a little bit wet. They're going to take a little more time drying it. So all those drivers that are worried, they got to think about it just a little bit more. Once they drop the green, you can go to business and start racing. But all this pre-race stuff, the pressure builds and builds and builds.
It's about 7:45 here on the East Coast, and track drying started about 6 o'clock. They're going to run down pit road a couple times. We'll ride along with a few different drivers. Sam Hornish Jr. is carrying the DraftKings in-car camera. He'll start 32nd tonight. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has the Chevy on board, starting 29th. Clint Boyer, who, of course, we will always try to talk to as much as possible, has the 5-hour Energy onboard camera, he starts 26th, and again 16th in the points. Denny Hamlin will start 25th. He has the Coca-Cola onboard camera with him tonight. Casey Kane, another driver needing a win, carries the Sprint onboard camera. He starts 20th. A little closer to the front, starting 15th, Casey Mears has the Geico onboard camera. Kevin Harvick with the Budweiser in-car camera starts in the 3rd row. And Kyle Busch in the 2nd row. With the Toyota onboard, he starts 4th tonight. All right, let's see if we can talk to Clint now that he's actually on the track.
Hey, Clint, it's Jeff in the NBCSN booth. You with us?
I got you, bud.
All right, man, you and your team is 16th in points. What do you guys need to do tonight to get yourselves into playoffs?
Man, we're just going to go out here and race. That's all we can do. We don't have to worry about anything behind us because we can't control that. Honestly, need to stay focused on it. 27, that's obtainable to task tonight if we need it. Other than that, I love racing in this place. It's fun to be in this situation, even be in the mix of a talk of a championship. So we're going to go out here and race as hard as we can and get this 500 Toyota in the chase.
Well, you mentioned how much you love this racetrack. You've won here twice. Tell us why you are so good here.
Man, from the very first time I've came here, I just fell in love with it. And that means something. Anytime you come and enjoy a racetrack, it fits your driving style. I think it's a perfect size. It's short track racing at its best, but a fan gets to see the speed, the sensation of speed. You can't beat and bang on each other, but you can certainly get in there and dice it up. So hats off to whoever built this baby. Had your thinking cap on.
All right, buddy. Have a good night tonight. We'll be watching you.
All right, boys. Thanks.
And let's look at the particulars of this perfect racetrack, as Clint Boyer said. Whoever built this baby had their thinking caps on. They made it 3/4 of a mile. The banking in the corners 14 degrees. The front stretch has 8 degrees of banking, and the back stretch relatively flat, just 2 degrees of banking. Front stretch very long and arcing, 1,290 feet. The back stretch is 860 feet. We'll look at our Sunoco fuel strategy from Richmond International Raceway. The race length 400 laps, 300 miles. Pit road speed 40 miles an hour, and that fuel window 110 to 115 laps. Can the tires last that long?
Well, I think that's the question, Rick. Goodyear bought a great tire. What defines a great tire? A racy tire. It's soft, it has grip, it also wears out, which is going to make these drivers, they might be able to go 110 laps on Sunoco race fuel, but I'm not sure if you're going to run that long on those rear tires. They're going to get hot and slick really quick.
And before they drop the green flag, let's go back to pit road for a few more of the storylines that are taking place tonight. We'll start with Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, certainly a sidebar story tonight that a lot of people will be paying attention to is the 11 car and Denny Hamlin racing in pain tonight. Well, his crew chief, Dave Rogers, told me this morning that when they found out the news, he went to his emergency protocol. He called his engineers. They came up with a list of things they could do to make Denny comfortable inside that race car. After one run on practice, however, on Friday, Denny said, I don't like it. Change the pedals back to the way they were. I want them exactly the same. He wants to prove to everyone he can race through this adversity and, again, compete for the championship this year. Dave?
Mike, Tony Stewart can make it into the chase tonight by winning here at Richmond, but in order to do so, he needs a great night out of his pit crew. It's no secret that they had a rough weekend last week at Darlington, but I talked to pit crew coordinator Joe Piet about what they did about it. There were no dismissals, but there was a big technique change on the right front tire area. So look for them to be better on pit road this week at a time when Tony certainly needs them to be. Marty?
Dave, as the jet dryers go by, let's talk about Brad Keselowski. And last week in the Southern 500, they had the dominant car. They came down pit road in the lead on the final stop of the night and lost the lead and wound up losing the race. I talked to Paul Wolf this week and asked him what they're going to do differently. He said he and Brad Keselowski normally are very conservative on their pit stops when they're coming down pit road and pit road speed. Starting this weekend, they will be much more aggressive with that. They're going to push it to the edge, trying to gain everything they can on pit road because they feel like right now the pit crew may not be one of the better ones on pit road, so they can gain some time by how quickly they come down pit road. We'll see if that helps out the 2-car tonight. Rick?
Yeah, that's a great point, Marty. The pit road obviously very important. Some pep talks taking place before the guys get the green. Let's listen into the 14 radio.
Guys, be careful down there today. Got a great start spot for me. We'll find out what we got here early and keep working on it. We'll try to get us one tonight.
I love to hear that from the driver, trying to pump everybody up. It's so important for the team and the driver to all be in sync, working together. You know, Tony Stewart's a guy we've seen speed out of lately. We haven't seen the finishes. But if this team were to get hot, you never count Tony Stewart out.
Yeah, it's hard to consider a 3-time NASCAR champion a sleeper.
Oh, yeah.
But in the field tonight and off performance in the last 18 months, the 14 would have to be considered a sleeper, but I wouldn't count him out.
You mentioned sleeper. All the drivers in the top 10 starting tonight have won at Richmond with the exception of David Reagan. David Reagan gets a win. It would put him into the chase. Another one of the things we're going to be keeping our eyes on, the scenarios that will play out. We'll give you all of those. We'll be right back with the start. Watch a live stream of every Sprint Cup Series race combined with additional camera angles, interactive driver stats, and track information. NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptop, tablet, smartphone, and connected TVs. NBC Sports Live Extra brings you closer to every race. Kelly Stavis, what's going on with the 22?
Well, Joey Logano essentially punched his ticket to the playoffs by winning the very first race of the season. Of course, that is the Daytona 500. They've added 2 more wins to their racing resume in 2015. But his crew chief, Todd Gordon, told me it is so important to finish well tonight. It's all about momentum, which equals confidence. Well, here's a little pep talk he gave his driver just moments ago.
Hey, Joey, good job down there qualifying. Let's have a good night tonight. Learn a little bit tonight. Keep the mojo. Yes, sir. Well, enjoy it. Like you said, keep the mojo rolling here and have some fun. Get a trophy.
Joey Logano has swept the pole positions here at Richmond, won 3 of the last short track races, and now he's on pole tonight.
It's always fun to come to a racetrack at night. The lights flashing off the cars makes them even look faster than they are, which is surprising. But even on pit road, they've got lighted signs for the drivers to come down. And I know a lot of times when you're coming down pit road, Jeff, I would say you're looking over there and some of the boards may look the same, but now you throw a little neon in there, a little flashing lights.
Oh yeah, and then like if you don't have one, you know, and everybody around you has that, the neon and the lights, now you really can't see your box. So it's so important. I mean, once one person did it, then everybody had to do it.
And the other thing that's going to light up the rotors. We know that the brakes are going to get really warm here tonight. That means that the rotors will be glowing. And we've got to be very cautious of maybe melting a bead or having a tire issue late in a run. Again, the chase grid is so important as this is the last race of the regular season before we start the chase. The top 11 drivers, all with a win, all locked in. Jamie McMurray, when the green flag drops, will also be locked in because of points. From that point down, it has different scenarios for these drivers to make sure that they race their way into the chase.
Yeah, to make it even more complicated in those scenarios, you know, if you're below the red line and you win, you're in. So that makes it very hard to figure out. And I think that's what you heard out of Clint Boyer earlier when Jeff Burton talked to him. You know, we're not going to worry about all the different scenarios. He's looking ahead. He mentioned Paul Menard. I think that's the right mindset. Clint Boyer's thinking, I'm not worried about trying to stay in the chase. I'm going to go out, outrun the 27, beat him in points, and that way if someone wins their way in, it's taken care of.
And again, the points in NASCAR, you get 1 point for every position. It makes it very simple. So Clint Boyer right now 10 points behind Paul Menard. He finishes 11 positions in front of him. He's in essence put himself in front of Paul Menard and locked himself a spot in the chase.
That's right. One thing that always concerned me coming to this race when you were 15th, 14th in points was you raced your whole life being aggressive. You raced to go earn position. And now all of a sudden you come to a racetrack and they tell you, hey, play defense. You know, don't be aggressive. Don't be who you normally are. And when you get off of who you are, that's when you get in trouble. It's so important for these drivers to balance all that. Yes, don't do anything silly. Don't do anything you shouldn't do. But at the same time, you just ride around and you're not aggressive, it knocks you off your rhythm. So it's not just as easy as saying, hey, I'm just going to ride around and try to finish 12th, because it's very difficult to finish 12th, first of all. But then on top of that, there's things out of your control. You're way better off starting in the front on a restart. We typically see wrecks happen in the middle of the pack. You don't want to be in there. Track position matters. It's not that you can just ride around. If you ride around, you stand a bigger chance of getting in a wreck. There are a lot of things that go into the night, and I think it's so important to be who you are. Don't try to change it.
And that also makes pit road even more important, to have a very good pit stop and not lose any track position. Because they're rolling around under these pace laps, extra pace laps, there's a few more pep talks taking place. How about the 41 radio?
All right, team. Congratulations on a great regular season. We got one more tonight. Let's do it. Stay sharp, stay focused, but congratulations. And I want to tell each and every one of you, you're the best in the position that you're in.
How about that? Driver once again. Little pep talk for the team.
And there's nothing better than making that statement knowing you're in the chase. I have come to Richmond both ways. And if you come here and have to race your way in, you learn that every year when you're unloading Daytona, you need to make that a focus because this is a stressful night, and it's real stressful for a whole bunch of cars.
I think they call this the action track. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Yeah, we're ready to see why.
The action is about to pick up. Pace car makes its way onto pit road. Field now in the hands of Joey Logano in the 22. Matt Kenseth making up row number 1. Coming out of turn number 4. Crowd on their feet. Green flag in the air. We're underway. Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. See David Reagan trying to hold on to that spot. Kurt Busch working on the outside in the 41.
Something that makes this track unique for short tracks. When we go to Martinsville, there's really only one lane down around the curve. We go to Bristol, the one lane is right up against the wall. But here at Richmond, as you see Kurt Busch right there clear David Reagan, you're able to run that second groove. You not only can run right along the yellow line, but you see up where Tony Stewart is, a lane up off the bottom. If your car's working well enough, you can make time up there as well.
Here comes Kyle Busch. Takes third away from Brad Keselowski. Kyle Busch moving toward the front. Congratulations, Jamie McMurray. It's official. You are in the chase. Just had to take the green flag. It's the first time that he will race for a championship in this new chase format.
That's amazing to me. This is Jamie McMurray's first chase. He's such a good race car driver. He's won the Daytona 500. He's run the big Brickyard 400, the Coca-Cola 600. A lot of big races, but this is his first chase he's ever made.
That's why they make such a big deal of it, Jeff. It's so hard to do. There are so many good teams. There's so many things you have to control over the first 2/3 of the season to get yourself in that position. 36 race season. The first 26 races, the regular season. The final 10, the playoffs.
And Tony Stewart's going the wrong way. He started 8th, but he's been stuck on that outside. We talked about this track being a multiple groove racetrack, but many times that doesn't happen until later in the race. So Tony's falling all the way back to 15th right now. He's got to try to find a way to get in front of Brian Scott and get his car back on the bottom of the racetrack.
We will continue to keep you updated on who is in and who is out of the chase as they are running. If you see the drop down on the screen at the top, if you have a green bar below your name, you are locked into the chase. If it's yellow beneath your name, you're in the top 16 in points. As you see with Ryan Newman, top 16 in points. So green bar under the name, locked in. Yellow bar under the name, top 16 in points.
Because of the rain we had this afternoon, NASCAR has decided to have a competition caution on lap 40. So all these teams, they're racing to that lap. You don't want to lose a lot of positions like Tony Stewart. You know, he lost a tremendous amount of positions. He started 8th. He's all the way back to 15th. You want to use these first 40 to get some positions and also learn what your car does well and what it doesn't do well. So on this first pit stop, you can make the right changes.
Dave Burns.
Rick, Tony Stewart just radioed his crew. He called his car really tight through the center and shearing loose. That outside groove definitely didn't help, but right now the handling of the car is not to Tony's liking.
And Tony has been to victory lane here before 3 times, but the last time was back in 2002, so 13 years ago. Tony Stewart out of Rushville, Indiana. Trying to get back into the chase. Probably had one of the more impressive chase finishes when he and Carl Edwards finished in a dead tie as far as points. But he got the nod for the championship with the number of wins his last championship.
You know, Jeff, you talk about this short run, this guaranteed 40-lap run for a guy like Tony Stewart not wanting to lose positions. What this does do is this helps guys that had trouble in qualifying. Some bigger names, some guys that you expect to run well here at Richmond didn't qualify as well as they had hoped. Denny Hamlin being one of them. You see here he's already moved 7 spots ahead of where he qualified, working on the inside of Justin Allgaier, looking up to Danica Patrick. He's gained 7 positions in only 12 laps. Knowing he only has a 40-lap run, Jeff, that has to help his mindset, knowing he can abuse the tires more.
No question. Drive hard, get as many spots as you can. And as you said, if you hurt the tires, so what? You're going to have a caution here in just a little bit.
Moving up, Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, Dale Earnhardt Jr. There's the gap between 1 and 2. Joey Logano running that lower line, and here comes Matt Kenseth running a little bit higher line.
Matt Kenseth changed his line about 3 laps ago, and when he did, he started coming. Joey had pulled out on him about 4 or 5 car lengths. See Matt Kenseth roll in the middle of the corner on the outside, so much quicker than the 22. So able to get next to him on the front straightaway. Let's see if he can make it work in turn 1.
Matt Kenseth trying to take the lead away from Joey Logano, and Kenseth will take it away in that second groove.
Exactly what you talked about, Steve, at the start of the race, is how this is a multiple groove racetrack. We saw Tony Stewart not able to make it work by being on the outside, but Matt Kenseth, he was able to roll the outside, but as soon as he got in front of him, he went right back to the bottom.
One of the things a little bit different about this racetrack, it doesn't take rubber like other tracks that we see where you'll see dark lines where they're driving. It will stay pretty consistent. But as you both mentioned, we have multiple grooves around this racetrack. Matt Kenseth out in front. Joey Logano is second. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Kevin Harvick, the top 5. They're all racing for the trophy at the end of the season, the Sprint Cup. Jamie McMurray makes it into the chase. Welcome back to the Federated Auto Parts 400. Test your skill in predicting the 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion with the all-new Chase Grid Battle Game. You can play today for a chance to win great prizes at NASCAR.com/battle. Already a tough start for the 14 team. Dave, what's going on with their radio?
Well, it rained a lot today here, Rick, and electronics do not do well in the rain. Here's what Tony Stewart has been listening and what he was told on Channel 1 radio.
Channel 2, Tony, if you can hear me. Channel 2.
So it's like a channel stuck open. All you can hear is the whir of the motor coming and going as he accelerates around the track. And 2 radios, right, Steve, just in case one fails. Or has that happened?
Yeah, that's right, Dave. You always run a second radio because the battery could go dead. It could get wet. And sometimes someone will get on your frequency. A local wrecker service, taxi service. As odd as it sounds, these are public frequencies. And if someone gets very close to yours, you can have bleed over. But what a frustrating thing for a driver trying to focus to have radio issues.
Already mentioned short track racing could get aggressive, Jeff.
Yeah. See Casey Kane, arrow pointing to him, trying to get underneath A.J. Allmendinger on the front straightaway. A.J.'s trying to protect. Casey's saying, nope, I'm going to take that spot. Drives it in anyway, gets in the left rear quarter panel.
This is what we're going to see. This is what the playoffs do to people. You have to have aggression. And you see right here, Danica Patrick tries to protect. Casey has no patience for it. He knows he has to go. He has only to lap 40 before the caution comes out.
And a lot of times, you know, you don't want to rub up people because you're going to have to race with them next week. Well, guess what? This is your year. Right. You've got to win this race. If you make some people mad, you make them mad. You just do what you got to do to go get yourself and your team in this chase.
And Casey Kane's only made up 1 spot since the drop of the green. Started 20th. Currently running 19th. And just behind him, Jamie McMurray. When that green flag flew, Jamie McMurray locked himself into the chase for the Sprint Cup in 2015. The bubble drivers, as they're running, one of the biggest stories, can you get into the playoffs? Clint Boyer right on that line. 19 points to the good over Casey Kane, who's moved up to 17.
The bigger concern I have, though, Rick, is look at the currently running positions. Clint Boyer running 31st, Casey Kane in 19th, Eric Almirola in 26th. Clint Boyer and Paul Menard are having rough nights. If one of those guys outside can capitalize, they might be able to beat him in the points, not even need to win in. So they're going to have to watch this all night long. If you're Casey Kane's crew chief, you have to be telling him, Jeff, that Boyer's not having a good night. We need to go. Maybe that's why we're seeing that aggressive driving.
And Clint Boyer, they're in a position, they're not that far ahead of the leader. I mean, if we didn't have a caution coming on lap 40, it's a really good chance they would get lapped. So if you get yourself lapped you know, as one of these bubble guys, it could really put you in a tough spot.
Let's update the bubble guys. We start with Marty.
Rick Ryan Newman right now in 12th, very comfortably in the chase thus far. Remember the number for the 31 team night. They just have to finish 31st or better, and they are in. The problem for Newman is he said his car is extremely tight into one and very loose right there off of turn 4. In fact, he said, if we keep going like this, we're going to blow a tire. Mike?
Eric Almirola is another driver who has his work cut out for him tonight, Marty. He knows he needs to perform at a very high level and probably needs to win. Right now, though, he doesn't have the car to do that. He doesn't have drive off, and the car just won't turn through the center. That was the problem they were dealing with throughout practice on Friday, Dave.
Jeff Gordon has not gained any positions so far. That means he started 23rd. He runs 23rd. Remember, he can control his own destiny if he finishes 17th or better. Right now, he's called his car pretty tight through the center, but I'm loose in. He's got that adjustment in the cockpit to lower the track bar to help that out. Kelly?
We've been talking about Clint Boyer holding on to that 16th position all night long. Well, he's already dropped a few positions, but his crew chief Billy Scott told me that they were just going to focus on themselves early in this race, run their own race, and about the halfway point is when they'd start to really pay attention to where other bubble drivers were running, especially if there is a non-winner up there contending for the lead. As I said, he's dropped back to 30th, says his car is loose off. Rick?
Matt Kenseth out in front, Joey Logano. Second, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Kevin Harvick. The top 5. Competition caution coming up soon. Welcome back to Richmond. We're under caution, but this isn't the competition caution. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. going into turn number 1 got into the wall. As you see the right side of that car, you'll see it's flat. The tires are up, so it doesn't look as though a tire went down, but he did get into the wall.
Well, at the same time, the 98 of Reed Sorensen had an issue getting into turn 1. I wonder if he didn't put down some oil, Rick, and the 78 get into it. When we talk about Richmond being the action track, that's how quick the action can happen. The 78 running at 14th, you think that's a safe place to be. It's not. There's no safe place around this racetrack.
That caution will now be the competition caution that NASCAR had said would be around lap 40. Free pass is going to the 46 car, so the 46 will get the free pass. Michael Annett, and pit road is open, so Matt Kenseth takes the lead lap cars onto pit road, and he'll be followed by all of the lead lap cars. 31 cars on the lead lap. So there's a lot of congestion on pit road, Marty.
Brad Keselowski hits running 4th, top left-hand side of your screen. He said he's loose in, tight in the middle, loose off the corners. He said he's not bad. He just needs to be a little bit better to catch the guys in front of him. He also has a little bit of brake shake. He turned off the brake fans. Kelly?
Kyle Busch in the upper right pits from second. He said it stumbled a little bit first couple laps, but it's coming around tight through the center, little bit loose, leaving 4 Goodyear tires and fuel for him below. Matt Kenseth, lower left, said he needs a little bit tighter in the middle. Remember, he came to pit road with the lead. And then Joey Logano, who started from pole, said he's been working the track bar, but he's still a little bit too tight in that 22.
And the race off pit road brought to you by Geico. Matt Kenseth holds the lead. Logano and Harvick moving up. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Bank of America. Life's better. We're connected. And by Toyota. Let's go places. And 78 of Martin Truex Jr. And a penalty for speeding on pit road to add insult to injury. The damage to the right side of that car happened when the 98 of Timmy Hill, his car went south on him and put some fluid down, and so we saw multiple cars sliding up the racetrack.
You know, we have a great view right here from Denny Hamlin's car. You can see the 31, see him drive in the corner, watch the back end come around on him. He's loose in the oil. 78 behind him, he got loose. The 31 was able not to get in the wall. 78 had to chase his up the racetrack, and he ended up making contact. Mike, you have more on the 78?
Yeah, and that's just the beginning of the problems, obviously. The right side damage on that race car. He says the wheel is off just a little bit as well on his first time down pit road, and you see him coming down one more time. This is his 3rd visit to pit road. On his first time, he overshot his pit stall. They had to push him back, and well, this is the 3rd time back down pit road. They want to make sure the tire rub has been corrected, and they can do as much to repair that right side damage. But obviously, not the start to this race Martin Truex Jr. was looking for.
No, you're right, Mike. And what you mean by, you know, the wheel being off, what happens when you hit the wall, you can bend a front steering component, maybe a tie rod or the steering box or the part on the spindle. What that'll do is knock the toe off, and you always ask your driver, how's the steering wheel? Because most drivers have a mark that is supposed to be straight up if everything's straight. If that's not straight, you know you've bent something. But the problem is with it only being 3/4 of a mile track, you see how short Martin Truex is in the pit stop. There's no time to repair it. We're not at Michigan or Pocono. You can't put it up on a jack stand and slide up underneath there. There's no time even under caution to repair your cars.
And that's a great example of how he was doing nothing wrong. He was out there running his own race, had nothing to do with the incident, got in somebody else's oil, and that's all these guys on the bubble. That's their biggest fear, is getting into something just like we saw Martin Truex get into. He had no control over it. There's nothing he could have done differently.
Hey, you can get ready for the chase with a free trial of RaceView Mobile, which is NASCAR's ultimate live race companion. Download it now to follow your favorite driver right here at Richmond. Just search RaceView Mobile in iTunes or Google Play, or visit NASCAR.com/mobile for more information. And you see a lot of smoke coming out from behind the 78s. Martin Truex Jr.
He's coming to you here.
And the field coming out of turn 4. We're back to racing. Fight for the lead. Joey Logano takes it away from Matt Kenseth for a moment. Let's see if he can hang on to that spot.
And there's no guarantee now on this run, Rick. These guys have to decide, how hard does Joey Logano, how hard does Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, how much do they want to push these tires? The first run, we knew we were only going to go 40 laps. Now we could go 40, 50, 60. There's no telling when the next caution will be.
Joe Logano got credited for leading a lap, which is a bonus point. He doesn't need it because the points will be reset after this race. The drivers in the top 16 will get bonus points based upon their wins. Right now, 2 drivers have 4 wins going into Chicago. Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch. They will both receive 3 bonus points per win. And so they would be slotted 1 and 2 to start the chase. Right now, out front, Matt Kenseth, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, the top 5. We see Austin Dillon making the move past the 18 of Kyle Busch. Austin Dillon, another driver. Win and you're in the top 30 in points. He gets to victory lane. He would be racing for the championship.
Riding on board with Kyle Busch. How about Kyle Busch, Jeff? Months ago, we questioned if he could even make it into the top 30 to get himself chase eligible. Not only did he do that, but I don't think we want to be lost on the fact that he's 51 points to the good.
Oh, yeah.
That makes tonight very low stress. If he was only 5 points to the good in the top 30, talk about scenarios, he could have got knocked out of the chase with an accident. Instead, they kept their head down. This entire 18 team not only won 4 races, Rick, but consistently gained points, got themselves in a nice, safe area for tonight's race.
Very impressive.
Yeah, no question. He won 4 races, which puts him a tie. If Jimmy Johnson doesn't win tonight, they'll be tied for the most points when this playoff starts. So winning those races, you know, he ran half the races everybody else did. And he's still won 4. I mean, it's unbelievable what this team has been able to do.
And again, the reason he missed 11 races, the Xfinity race to start off the season in Daytona, broke his leg and his foot and was sidelined for 11 Cup races before he made his return. And then he actually got his first win of the 2015 season at a road course at Sonoma, which we thought might be one of the more difficult races for him. And he goes out and wins that race. Just in front of him, we saw Austin Dillon make the pass, Kelly.
And he's been one of those wild card racers that could potentially get a win to get into the chase, although probably no one really thought it would happen here. His best finish at Richmond is 20th, and his crew chief Slugger Labbe admits he struggled here, but he said so many of these other guys are raised on short tracks. Just not true for Austin, and it's easy to develop bad habits as far as driving style. But last night in the Xfinity race, he found some things in both the gas and braking zones that have really helped him tonight. Right now, Austin's saying his forward drive is good, but he's still tight through the center. Mike?
Kyle Larson, another one of those drivers looking for the Hail Mary tonight, looking to cash in a win and boost himself into the chase. Well, his crew chief, Chris Hebroy, said, look, we changed so many things, a new car, a whole new concept when it comes to the setup for this racetrack. He felt like he needed to experiment a little bit so that they'd give him a chance. Larson was very confident in the race car coming in and still is. He says it's a good car, just need a little bit more forward bite, Kelly.
Casey Mears in the number 13, running 13th. He turned some heads earlier this weekend, putting down one of the fastest times in practice, and then he had a very solid qualifying effort to match after they were 15th, his crew chief, Woody Barker, said they definitely found something in practice that they hit on that should be good for the long run. Their goal is just really to try to compete and show the progress that they've been making. But an incident earlier, they got into it with the 14 team, so the team had to fix the fender when they brought that 13 to pit road, Dave.
Brian Scott is doing double duty this weekend, led 63 laps and finished third in the Xfinity race last night right here at Richmond International Raceway. There's the black and white 33, getting his 7th start of the season in that car, hoping to run about 3 more this season, get experience in Sprint Cup. Rick, Marty?
Dave, Greg Biffle stuck back in the 30th position. No doubt this has been a very tough season for the 16 team. I talked to Matt Pusha earlier today, and he said, you know what, I was encouraged by the speed that we found at Darlington last weekend. We didn't have the results to show for it, but that's what we need to do. And if for some reason we cannot win and put ourselves in the chase tonight, we need to spend the next 10 weeks trying to get ourselves better for 2016. If they do not get in, or his teammates do not win tonight and get themselves into the chase, it'll be the first time ever that Roush Fenway Racing has not had a car in the chase. Great. You know for this team for years, Jeff, it's amazing to think that Roush might not be in the chase in 2015.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for him this year. We met with Jack Roush a few weeks ago. He's determined to get it fixed. He feels like they are going to get it fixed, but this year has been a big struggle for him.
Short track racing, the top 33 are on the lead lap. J.J. Yaley took the wave around to get up on the lead lap as well. Matt Kenseth is setting the pace, 2-second lead over Keselowski. Want to look at the points in front of 17th, presented by Sprint. Clint Boyer, 20 points right now in front of 17th, but remember, a win and you're in. If the driver outside the top 16 would win, that would push Clint Boyer right out of the top 16. Stop in at Sprint and cut your rate plan in half. Just bring in your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and turn in your old phone.
I think Clint and his team, they've made their car a little bit better. They've only moved up to 24th, but I think they were just a little bit better. They're only 2 cars away from getting lapped on, you know, when that 38 lap caution came. But I think they made that car just a little bit better.
And Clint Boyer needs to try to stay on the lead lap. Doesn't want to have to deal with that different type of strategy. But Matt Kenseth making it hard for anybody to stay on the lead lap.
I was going to say, Matt Kenseth isn't making that an easy task. He has a 3.5-second lead over Brad Keselowski in second. His car looks like it's working. You see him at the bottom of the racetrack. When he catches traffic, he can move to the top of the racetrack. He really just has a car that seems like is, I don't want to use the word easy because I couldn't drive it, but I'll use the word drivable. It's very comfortable. He moves it around with a lot of confidence, gets off the corner nice and straight, conserves his rear tires.
And I think this team has started to become a dangerous race team. You know, they've gotten several wins. They were way fast last weekend. He made a mistake, got in the wall. But we've started to see a tremendous amount of speed out of Matt Kenseth and his team. I think they're going to be dangerous when this chase starts.
Well, potentially could get another championship. We want to look at former champions. We start with Kelly Stavis.
And we'll start right there with Matt Kenseth. 3 wins, and as Jeff Burton just said, they've shown a lot of speed. The last 2 weeks have not gone particularly well. They had an engine failure in Bristol, and then last week he got into the wall early at Darlington. But talking to the team, they said it's not a momentum killer at all. Because we've shown so much speed, we'd rather be charging forward and have a failure or an uncommon mistake by Matt Kenseth than to be running 10th, 15th, and do something brilliant to come away with a top 5, top 8. They said they've got a ton of confidence heading into this chase, Marty.
Kelly, when was the first time Brad Keselowski celebrated in Victory Lane at Richmond? It was 1997. His dad, Bob, won a Camping World Truck Series race here. Brad was 13 years old. He would love to celebrate in Victory Lane again tonight with his 2nd ever Richmond win. On that last run, very loose off the corner. They have fixed that, gotten the car a little bit better through an air pressure and a wedge adjustment. Also, Kevin Harvick, he is on a record-setting pace this year. Since the points were changed in 2011, the most points earned through 26 races, 914 points. Kevin Harvick, through 25 races, has earned 948 points. An incredible season going for this 14. He was very tight on that first run. Now, loose on this run. They've made the car much better. Dave?
Kurt Busch started 8th, runs 5th right now. That car has been loose most of the night. Still a little bit loose right now for this former champion who had a championship-like recovery last week after getting punted out of the way by Martin Truex. And Martin, of course, didn't mean to do it. But Kurt had to recover from restarting 30th all the way back up to 6th. Tony Gibson, his crew chief, told me he never lost focus. And he drove extremely hard at a tough racetrack last week. Mike?
Well, Dave, Jimmy Johnson has won 6 championships, and it's usually this time of the year when things really begin to click for the 48 team. I talked to his crew chief, Chad Knaus, this morning and asked him point blank. I said, is this your favorite time of the year? And Chad said, it is. For whatever reason, during the summer months, we kind of go into a lull, and that's been the case this time around as well. It's been 8 races since he led a lap, but Chad's confident they can turn things around real soon. Rick?
And how about his teammate, Jeff Gordon, when we're talking about former champions? Multiple championships for the driver of the 24. Are things turning around for Hendrick Motorsports as we come to the last race of the regular season?
Well, Jeff Gordon surely hopes they do, because his time at Hendrick Motorsports is limited. He only has 10 more races after tonight, so he's looking for speed. Rick Hendrick had some comments on NASCAR America earlier this week about he hopefully will peak at the right time. He thought last year maybe they peaked too early. They didn't carry the momentum they needed into the chase. A lot of the cars were eliminated in the second round. But we're going to have to see a significant change. These cars aren't leading laps. Joe Gibbs Racing, Penske, and Stuart Haas, half of Stuart Haas with the 41 of the 4, continue to dominate these races.
Mike, how about his teammate, the 88?
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., as many folks realized during qualifying, was not real happy with where he ended up. Started 29th this evening, but they had hoped that they had the car better in race trim. Greg Ives told me today that their objective was to be about 17th by the competition caution. They've fallen short of that, and that's because the car is just not rotating through the center right now. Dale Jr. radioed in not too long ago making a suggestion to his crew chief saying, maybe we need to put a rubber in the right rear. Maybe that would help. But that's what he's struggling with right now, getting through the center of the turn.
And we've mentioned the Hendrick drivers, but the guys who have been beating them over the last really 8 to 10 weeks are all in front of them right now, including Matt Kenseth, has almost a 4-second lead over second place Keselowski. We're on lap 86. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. You can get the ultimate pass to every moment of tonight's race with Race Buddy. Choose from multiple HD feeds of different drivers. You can follow the race action with a live leaderboard. All you have to do is tune in at NASCAR.com/Race Buddy. Pretty long green flag run we've had here, which means Matt Kenseth continues to put distance between himself and Brad Keselowski. 4.5 seconds the gap now. And once again, only 29 cars on the lead lap. As Kenseth has caught up to the back of the pack and now is knocking them off one at a time. The next one to go a lap down will be the 14 of Tony Stewart.
And with the opportunity, there's a lot of opportunity, Rick, especially here when we talk about the tire situation, everybody pitting basically every caution. There are going to be wave buys available. You can get the free pass. But what getting lapped does do is it ramps up the frustration. When you don't have a car that's driving like you want, and you see that leader coming, the driver's trying to do everything he can. The crew chief starts to coach him. It's a tough situation, but you have to stay calm. We saw it just last week. Carl Edwards, he bounced back from 2 laps down. So just because you're getting lapped early doesn't end your night. It's how you respond to this that makes the difference.
It was so difficult as you think about Tony Stewart. You know, he qualified well, started 8th, but now he's gone all the way back to 29th and getting ready to get lapped. So, you know, he's going to do all he can, but they obviously just don't have the car the way Tony needs it. So hopefully they can make a change and make it better. But, you know, being lapped on lap 89 after starting 8th, that's got to be exceptionally disappointing.
And over the last 5 races, we've seen glimpses of greatness out of Tony. Most of the time it's been in practice or in qualifying, but you hear him just mentioning a lap down now after 90 laps. Dave?
And he was saying pretty impressive, sarcastically, going the wrong direction as they did. On the flip side, the good note, the crew did not lose any positions on pit road. They had a good stop, maintained where he was, but unfortunately, that was only 23rd before the restart.
And when you talk about momentum in racing, that's what I think you talk about. That's the opposite of it. You know, what happens when you win? You think you could do no wrong. Well, Tony Stewart, if he would have won last week, perhaps he stays focused, stays behind the wheel. Let's make it better. Let's make it better. But the frustration had just mounted over time, where it's one more race with optimism that didn't work out early. And over time, Jeff, it just builds up until you can't stand it anymore, really.
It's so frustrating. You know, these are very competitive people. They expect to succeed. You know, type A personalities that, you know, want to succeed, work exceptionally hard, and when it's all not coming together, very difficult.
Yeah, Tony Stewart has won at this racetrack 3 times, but the last time it came back in 2002. Another guy who's won multiple times, 4 times as a matter of fact, is Kyle Busch. Kelly?
But it wasn't until just last week at Darlington that he officially locked himself into the chase. And as crew chief Adam Stevens says, that did make a difference, that they were able to come here to Richmond and experiment with the car a little bit. He said, we tried some things we probably wouldn't have tried otherwise. But after making some adjustments to him on the first round of pit stops, sounds like they've kind of headed in the wrong direction.
Feels like you just took the back out of the racetrack a little bit everywhere. I've had to compensate with track bar. I don't feel like the center's any better. I feel like the entry and exit is definitely worse.
On top of that, they had a slow pit stop. They had issues with the jack last time around, so they're going to want to clean it up when they come back to pit road.
That's what's so difficult about making changes. You heard him say that it wasn't any better in the center, which means to me they were wanting to make it turn better in the center, but the adjustment they made only made it loose getting in the corner and made it loose on exit. It did nothing to help the problem that they had, and you hear that so often. If the car is tight, it's very hard to get it to turn without hurting the entry and the exit.
You know, one thing I love about short tracks, though, and Richmond, we talk about how difficult it is, and we're going to say a lot about the guys in the chase, the guys racing for the chase, teams that have been. This team's closing down. It won't be around next year. He's looking to figure out, and we have a caution on the racetrack.
Caution out, debris in turn number 1 is what NASCAR is telling us. So this is the second caution.
Yeah, I was saying, David Reagan, you know, this is a guy that doesn't know his future. Yet he's qualifies great, consistently running well, currently in the top 14. We just talked about 3-time champion Tony Stewart losing a lap. Yet David Reagan running in the top 15. He's a great young man. He's fought this adversity of losing his ride well, kept his head up. I think this is his chance to perform and try to get a ride.
Yeah, no question. Some other guys, Casey Mears running very well in 15th. Sam Hornish Jr. He's gained 16 spots and driven himself up to 16th. So several teams having really good runs tonight.
Free pass goes to the 6 of Trevor Bayne. He was running 26, so there were 25 cars on the lead lap. That will make 26. And then if anyone would want to try to do the wave around, we have run 58 laps since the last time they were on pit road, and pit road is now open. Denny Hamlin made his way all the way up to 5th on that last run. Very impressive. Matt Kenseth first onto pit road, and a pretty good sized gap between he and Brad Keselowski. That will help him try to win the race off of pit road. Marty?
And for Brad Keselowski, he said he made it a little bit stable getting into the corner. He said he actually needed a little bit more turn in the middle of the corner as well. He's going to come in second position. You can see 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for him. For Kevin Harvick, he said he tried to run the higher line like Matt Kenseth, but it made his car tighter. You can see a half round of wedge coming out of the left rear for Kevin Harvick, trying to loosen that car up. Kelly.
Matt Kenseth comes to pit road with a sizable lead. He said he's a bit tight in the middle and he could use a little bit more turn, but he said it's not a whole lot to complain about. 4 tires for him. And then Joey Logano said he's a 3 to 4 loose off the turns and a 1 tight across the center. It's an air pressure adjustment for Joey Logano.
Looking at the race off of pit road, Kenseth with that comfortable lead. He wins the race off pit road. Logano once again grabs the spot to get back to second. Welcome back to the final race of the regular season. Sprint Cup Racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Field beginning to go 2 by 2. The race off of pit road, a little more interesting. The 4 lost 4 spots, and here's how it happened.
Driver times are the same, just the pit time is, you know, quite a bit off, 11.0 versus the 14.8.
And you're going to have bad pit stops. It really comes down to the timing. Now's a good time in the race to have them. We saw last week with Carl Edwards just on the inside of Kevin Harvick how much a good pit stop can change the whole course of the race.
He actually lost 6 spots on pit road. Coming out of 4, green flag back in the air. Kenseth on the inside, Logano on the outside. Two by 2 once again. Logano with the momentum on the outside takes the lead away from Kenseth. Let's see if he can hold on to it this time. And how about Denny Hamlin fighting for 3rd now? Even with the torn ACL in his right knee, which happened on Tuesday night, he's behind the wheel and moving forward.
Jeff, you mentioned it earlier in the weekend that maybe playing hurt sometimes gets athletes to focus more. Denny Hamlin, we've seen this before. 10 days after surgery, he goes and wins Texas when he tore the ACL in the other knee.
Here comes Matt Kenseth looking to the inside of Joey Logano. Very close as they work their way through 1 and 2. Logano able to hang on. Kenseth drops back to second. Hamlin right there, poised to take over second.
Matt trying to make that outside line work in the middle of 3 and 4. We saw it early in the race. He made the pass for the lead that same way. See if he tries it again. He's got some pressure now, though. He's going to have to protect a little bit. It's a problem running the high line. If it doesn't work, if you have somebody behind you, they'll take that spot from you. He's going to give it a try.
Looking at the high line once again. He did it last time to take the lead. Logano protects it this time.
I think it's eventually going to work. He gains a little bit each time he tries it. You see, he enters high in 1, but then he exits low on 2. Kind of does the opposite here. He enters high into 3, but then he continues his arc and leaves 4 a little bit higher.
It's right there in the middle of the corner that really amazes me, Jeff, how much quicker he rolls the center of the corner in the high line. And here he is taking the high position above the 22 of Joey Logano.
Going to do it again. Same way he did it last time. On the outside, Kenseth takes the lead away from Logano.
You could be watching a preview of what we're going to see here in the next 10 weeks. I think these two guys have great shots to win this championship. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to see it come down to Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano.
And how about Joe Gibbs Racing? First, third, fourth, and sixth. Once again, they've brought, I mean, really, for the last 2 months, you talk about peaking. If it continues, they're peaking at the right time because they've really been, I won't say unbeatable, but I think they've been the team to beat in every race for the last couple months. They've just been so dominant.
And I think this is a statement for Denny Hamlin. You know, I think everybody's looking, saying, hey, he's got an ACL tear. He's not going to be as good as he was. Guess what? I just picked up 22 spots. Now I'm in 3rd. There's nothing wrong with my leg. It hurts, but I can deal with it. Mike?
And I think you're right on the money there, Jeff. You heard what he said in Countdown. He said, look, I don't want to be the weak link. He put it on himself, so he knows that he's got to go out there and perform, and that's what he's been doing so far tonight. Started 25th all the way up to 3rd as caution on the track.
46 goes around. That's Michael Annett. He'll bring out the 3rd caution. Happened on the backstretch.
We hit pretty hard. It's a 23, I'm sure you know. We're smoking hard here. Go to the bottom here. Go to the bottom. Go to the bottom. Coming to you guys.
He is on pit road. A lot of damage to the right side of that car.
We're going to have to go to the garage. We're going to have to go to the garage. Got a lot of damage there.
43. Eric Almirola will get the free pass. Take a look at how the 46 got all this damage.
Yeah, the 46 of Michael Annett. Right here you see behind both cars of Jeb Burton and Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell gets into the 23, moves him up the racetrack. They come off somewhat 3 wide. And then Jeb Burton doesn't look like he carries it all the way out to the wall. Kind of runs maybe a half a groove off the wall. Maybe didn't know the 26 or the 46, excuse me, was back there. That's a Richmond type incident. You know Jeb knows the 95 is there. He doesn't go all the way up to the wall, but the 46 also comes all the way up. That's short track racing, and the 46 is going to be disappointed with Jeb Burton. Jeb's going to feel that he gave him enough room, but you see right there, Jeb's about 2 or 3 feet off the wall. Nothing wrong with that, except Michael Annett was assuming he was going to have those 2 or 3 feet. They come in contact, and that's a hard place to hit here at Richmond. You see the soft wall absorbing the impact. That, you know, angle of that wall can be a hard place to hit. Jeff Gordon hit there years ago with no soft wall. Richmond, just like a lot of tracks we've seen this year, doing a great job continuing to add soft wall. Anywhere you can make contact, they're trying to cover.
Safer barriers, steel and foam energy reduction.
And I'm you know, the crew chief in me, I can't help it. 9 laps. We talk about tires, and we talk about fall off.
Make this easy. I'm going to make this easy.
I want tires.
Pit.
But, and I agree, but with 26 in the lead lap, is this the opportunity? Does someone like Paul Menard in 23rd, Clint Boyer in 20th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 15th, do they say, you know what, I'm going to put on right side tires or left side tires? Is there another way to get track position? The problem is here at Richmond, though, Jeff, what happens? You'll go in an 80-lap green flag run, and next thing you know, you'll be a lap or 2 down.
As we look at the 46, when the tow truck back up to it, You had mentioned the 23 of Jeb Burton maybe not getting out to the wall. Here's what he had to say on the radio.
Number 46, yeah, sorry, but I mean, I don't know what I could have done right there. I was sideways in the 95.
And, you know, I don't know if we talk about this enough. I've talked to Jeb Burton, Michael McDowell, Michael Annette, all these guys that were involved in this wreck. We talk to them on a weekly basis. These teams are underfunded compared to some of the front guys' teams. This is not an easy cruise at the back of this field. Just because Jeb Burton and Mike McDowell perhaps don't go up and lead laps, don't think they're not back there sliding it around, driving it for all it's worth. You know, we maybe assume a couple tenths, 3 tenths off the leader per lap. Like, that's a huge margin in Sprint Cup racing. But in the world of motorsports, think of how small that margin really is. They're driving as hard as they can drive to keep up. And even back there in the pack, it's as tough of a battle as it is up at the lead.
In many ways, it's harder because your car is not capable of running the speed that Matt Kenseth is running. So in many ways, the guys that run in the back, they're actually racing harder, having to try to push their cars even harder, and their cars just won't have the speed. So it's very difficult in the back.
And the Premier League weekend continues tomorrow morning on NBCSN. Tottenham and Sunderland at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Every match, every team, every week. It's the Premier League. It's on NBC and NBCSN. So again, under caution for the third time. And still waiting for pit road to be open. People have asked about the light in the back of the pace car. When it swings around, we'll give you a look at that. But the light in the back of the pace car indicates to the drivers if the pit road is open or closed. So when there is a green light in the back of the pace car, that means pit road is open. When it's flashing like that, pit road is still closed.
And you know what happens when there's an accident on the racetrack is one thing, but when that accident carries itself to pit road, look at the mess we have on the entry to pit road. All these cars are going to be jumping in there, getting hard on the brakes. The 48, who's actually in pit stall 43, he's going to have to come around that barrel in all this speedy dry right here and try to maintain traction. That's going to make it even harder to get to pit road, because remember, these guys that are out there running, their tires are hot, they're soft. What will happen is it'll pick up that speedy dry, they'll lose a ton of grip.
Yeah, we actually saw one of the crew members from the 41 car out there blowing the racetrack off, trying to make sure that, not the racetrack, but blowing pit road off, making sure that it wasn't in his pit box. I'm sorry, the 42 car.
Casey Kane in the 5, a driver that needs to win to get into the chase. They'll need to make something happen, either on pit road or on track. Of course, at the end of this one, a big post-race celebration for 16 drivers, and one guy who will be a part of that, Rutledge Wood.
That's right, Rick. There's all the action on the track and a ton off the track. This is the pre-race stage. It's now being transformed to the post-race stage. I offered to help the fireworks crew, but apparently you need to be trained in pyrotechnics. But everything that goes on that you'll see tonight, this is the first chance that all the fans will get to see. The 16 challengers for the chase will be on our show tonight for the post-race party. All the fans that are in the stands are invited to go. Come down. They'll get to get up close. It's going to be huge, but a ton of work's going in right here just off of pit road, Rick.
And it will be a party, especially with Rutledge. And I don't know why they wouldn't let him.
I'd give Rutledge the switch.
The fireworks.
I mean, he can run fireworks? Sure, because I'm not going to be anywhere near him. Let him run the switch.
How would you not put him in charge of pyrotechnics? So around goes the 46 of Mike Lynette. And already, tempers rising on the short track. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and by Smithfield. Pit road is open. Here they come, Mike.
And Denny Hamlin on pit road going to work on his race car. They're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment. He's also a little bit concerned there might be some damage on the left front fender. They took a quick look at that. 4 tires and fuel on Hamlin. Dave?
Kurt Busch gave up 5th position to come down pit road. 4 Goodyear tires full of Sunoco fuel. The car was really loose at the beginning of that run. Kelly?
There was some debate as to whether or not Kyle Busch would pit. Adam Stevens' crew chief wanted to keep him out there. Kyle's happy with the adjustments they made the last time around. As you see, he just pitted ahead of him and going to win the race off pit road is Matt Kenseth. He said track is tightening up just a little bit, but happy with his car.
And a couple guys decided to stay out. Joey Logano and Sam Hornish Jr. stayed out on track as the 2 lead lap cars. Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway. 124 laps complete of 400. The last race of the regular season.
And I feel bad for the 22 and the 9. Look, it's a hard decision when you're the leader. The 22 is the leader. He had 8, maybe 9 hard laps on his tires. He decides to stay on the racetrack. It's very, very hard, and it's really going to be in trouble because nobody stayed behind him, and him and his crew chief had a conversation about it.
How many on the lead lap are behind me? I think 1. Uh-oh. Only 7 laps on tires. We'll be all right. Fight with the mirror.
That's a tough decision for the leader to make, Todd Gordon. Though I liked it. It wasn't a complete sales job, but oh man, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how it's going to work here, Rick.
We'll find out. Coming back to the green. Joe Logano on the outside, Sam Hornish Jr. on the inside. You've got Denny Hamlin, who's been making the charge to the front. He's fighting for second, now fighting for the lead. He goes to the outside. They're 3 wide as they go down the backstretch. Denny Hamlin takes the lead away at Richmond. 3 wide again for second, Carl Edwards.
Your leader, the 11.
Teammate to Denny Hamlin takes second. Here comes the other Joe Gibbs Racing car, the 20 of Matt Kenseth, who's been so strong. And the 18 doesn't want to get left out. Kyle Busch in the 18 has moved up into the top 5.
Well, I think this is going to make the decision easier. 4 positions in 2 laps. Even with a green-white checker, Jeff, I think you're going to have tires.
Yeah, no question.
How about momentum? As we mentioned, Joe Gibbs Racing and Penske so strong. Well, Joe Gibbs Racing has the top 4 spots with all 4 of their drivers.
So you think that's pretty good?
That's pretty good.
Unbelievable. And already we see, look back at out of the rear bumper of Denny Hamlin. Well, look at that nose of that $20 General Toyota. He continues to run up a lane. Denny Hamlin moves up even with the lead. Surprising he'd give Carl Edwards the bottom, but he's going to get a great run off the corner.
Carl Edwards looked for a moment. There you have the Joe Gibbs Racing organization, and they are pulling away from the rest of the field.
And right now, Joe Gibbs is saying, don't wreck. You're right. Don't hit each other. Stay. This is great. 1, 2, 3, 4. But please don't hit each other.
Boys, we're at lap 130. 130. Everybody just calm down. But you know what? They're not going to calm down because that's how they got to 1 through 4. These guys show up to win races every week. They push each other. But I really believe, Jeff, that this resurgence, you can go back 2 years with that guy in the 20, Matt Kenseth, went to Joe Gibbs Racing. Matt Kenseth is not only spectacular behind the wheel, but he's what I always term a franchise driver. He's the type of guy that gives honest feedback, forces everyone to get better, and because of that, I think we're starting to see the fruits of his hard work over the last 2 years.
No question. And Kyle Busch coming back. All the drivers have talked about the importance of Kyle. But there you go, a little contact amongst teammates.
Little bumping and banging. Teammates for second. Carl Edwards has it. Matt Kenseth wanted it.
All these drivers talked about how important it was to get Kyle back. Kyle is not only a great race car driver, but he's so good at knowing what his car needs to feel like, how it needs to drive, giving that feedback to the team.
A big hit there. Matt Kenseth had to check up, go hard left because the 19 he got into him. These two are fighting for a position in their teammates.
You see Carl Edwards with his hand out the window. I don't know if he was motioning to the 20 to take the bottom or motioning to the 20 like, why do we keep running into each other?
Either whoops or what's going on out here.
Yeah, we'll go with whoops. It sounds better.
Take a look at coming off of turn 4. Up the track goes the 20. He has to get way out of the gas as he's sideways. And this was earlier. 20 drifting up the track, getting into the 19.
I'd like to be on that one. The 19 was kind of coming down, 20 was coming up. It's just racing. I mean, listen, that's short track racing, okay? As we talked about earlier, we're not at a big 2-mile racetrack. We're at a 3/4-mile racetrack. You're racing close to each other. You're in the gas as hard as you can be. You're going to rub every now and then.
And listen, guys, as these 4 Joe Gibbs Racing teammates have been battling it out for the front 4, Joey Logano has only fallen back to 5th. Now, the 42 of Kyle Larson is faster, and his patience is going to wear thin. Remember, we talk about the chase and the bubble guys. Well, Kyle Larson had to sit out in Martinsville. He had to miss a race. He doesn't have a chance to get in on the points. His only way to get in is to win a race. He's gotten by the 22 on those older tires. Now all he has to do is pass, well, all 4 Gibbs cars.
All he has to do.
That's it. All 4 Gibbs cars.
Kyle Larson in the spring race finished 12th. Kyle Larson needs to win if he wants to compete for the Sprint Cup Championship at season's end. Larson's moved up into the top 5, but a gap between he and Carl Edwards of almost 2 seconds.
And Larson's teammate Jamie McMurray gets by Joey Logano. Jamie McMurray has also made his first chase. What could help this team move forward? But how about a win? You talk about momentum. Why he doesn't need a win. Those 3 important bonus points. Let's remember, the guys that are moving forward in the chase, they'll be seeded by wins. The first round of the chase is only 3 races. 3 points can make a big difference. These guys that are locked in, Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, they're racing this hard for the lead because they want those 3 bonus points.
Here comes Kenseth once again using that high line, and he is going to try to take the lead away from his teammate, Denny Hamlin. He'll make the pass as they go into turn 3. Matt Kenseth so strong early in this one. Led 102 laps at Richmond. We all know the 2 drivers that have been out front, Joey Logano for 24 laps, and Denny Hamlin, his teammate, just those last 13 laps, he was out in the lead. Green bars underneath the names indicating that they are in the chase. If there's a yellow bar beneath the name, that means that they are in the top 16 in points but do not have a win. 16 drivers will fight for the championship after tonight's race. Who will be those 16 drivers? It won't be determined until the checkered flag falls tonight. Here comes the 48. Jimmy Johnson closing the gap on Joey Logano.
Yeah, I mean, Joey Logano, he's doing good in those old tires, but eventually new tires are going to prevail. But look at this group here. 48, 6-time champion Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, a 4-time champion. But how about Casey Mears? Been fast since they unloaded. He said in an interview during practice, his guys built a newer car, worked hard in the short track program. He's up here running with the big guys. Yeah. Penske, Joe Gibbs Racing. Right behind him is, in front of him is Hendrick Motorsports. Dillon's behind him. This is a great run for this 13 of Casey Mears. What a story if he could somehow break through.
Unbelievable. The Germain Racing team racing with heavy hearts as they lost Gail Germain just recently to breast cancer. Gracie, a great fighter, as well as the driver of the 12 or the 13, Casey Mears.
And this is what a team like the 13 needs, right, Jeff? You can't, it's so hard. Everyone in the garage works hard. Even the teams that don't ever get to see the top 5, they work and they work and they work for this. For this night, for this opportunity to stand on pit road and watch your driver go out and beat and bang with Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano. That's why you do what you do.
Yeah, no question. This team has an alliance with Richard Childress Racing. They work very hard. Richard Childress Racing provides engineering help, build race cars, engines. So they consider themselves not a top-tier team, but certainly a really good race team. And this kind of night verifies all that.
Top 4 drivers all from Joe Gibbs Racing. But how about race leader Matt Kenseth? He's got the momentum. Could he win the championship? Racing under the lights at Richmond International Raceway. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Getting some great pictures of short track racing. Let's take a look at tonight's Toyota driver updates. Joe Gibbs Racing dominating for Toyota as they have the first 4 positions locked up, and Clint Boyer 16th in the point standings, currently running 17th on the track. JGR, just incredible the momentum that they have, and it's coming as of late. They've won 7 of the last 10 races, 10 of the last 20, and they've won pole for 5 of the last 8 races. When you talk about momentum, Joe Gibbs Racing has it.
No question, that's magical stuff to be part of a team that can do that, can put that run together. It's so important to be able to work together as a team. We saw these guys rubbing against each other. They're going to be fine. They're not going to have a problem with it. They know they're racing hard. They work hard together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then they race each other on Sunday.
Going to dive deeper into those Toyota cars. Let's start with Kelly.
When you're running 1, 2, 3, 4 amongst your teammates, sometimes that racing will get closer, even too close. We saw the 20 of Matt Kenseth get awfully close to the 19 of Carl Edwards, and here's what Matt had to say about it after.
19, sorry, that was my bad, crazy. I thought I had enough room there. You were just going to be up there. Okay, buddy, 10-4.
He said no one's mad. Now he's led over 115 laps of this race, and behind him is the 18, his teammate, of course, Kyle Busch, who at one point won 4 consecutive spring races here at Richmond. He actually credits his other teammate, Denny Hamlin, for some of that success. He said, we work really well together. We feed off of each other an awful lot at Richmond. And our setups here are very similar, so we're able to feed off of each other, unlike at some other tracks. Mike?
You know, Kelly, in situations like this, we talk about Joe Gibbs holding his breath. Well, and that's really no joking matter. He may not be literally holding his breath, but he is very concerned. Had a conversation with him earlier this summer in a situation very much like this, and he talked to me about the tension. The team feels it too. I spoke with Dave Rogers, the crew chief of the 11 car this morning, about what happened last week. Felt like he had a shot at winning the Southern 500. He said it might have turned out differently if we weren't racing our teammate. Marty?
Mike, remember we told you top of the show that Carl Edwards said he's treating tonight like a Saturday night short track race and just going to go out there and have fun. So when they told him, Matt Kenseth said, my fault for getting into you, he said, that's okay, man. We're just having fun out here. Very relaxed atmosphere on the 19 radio. He said it is very good for the first few laps, but then the left front goes numb, then the right rear goes numb. You guys were talking about how JGR is in terms of putting themselves in a position to win a championship. I was talking to one of the championship contending crew chiefs today, and Jeff and Steve, he said, I don't know how they're going to be beaten. They have the motors, they have the aero down right now, and they're so good on pit road. That's a pretty good combination going into the chase for JGR, isn't it?
Oh, no question. And that's the big swing from a year ago. We talked a lot a year ago about Hendrick Motorsports having more engine than everybody else. Now everybody's talking about the Toyotas having more engine, and that's the way this sport works. You get behind, you work, next thing you know, you have the best engines and everybody's chasing you. So, you know, Toyota has done a great job helping Joe Gibbs Racing as well as MWR build really good race cars, and it's showing right now. They did not have the best power a year ago, but everybody in the garage right now says they do.
Yeah, and listen, when you start talking about the playoffs and the NASCAR playoffs, you have to go back to the defending champion, Kevin Harvick. He dominated the playoffs last year, winning the last 2 races to win the championship. But you see here, not the night we were expecting out of Kevin Harvick. He's only running 12. His balance seems to be all over the place, Marty.
And they've had some problems on pit road tonight, Steve. That's one of the reasons they're back there in the 12th position. Car not handling to Kevin's liking either. And what they did was Mike Casto, the jack man for the 4 car, has had problems getting the car underneath the left side the last couple of times. There you see them. He's going to his backup jack, and they were changing the handles and the left side handle of it as well so he can carry it a little bit better. Certainly a distraction for this team, but that's been the problem on pit road. They've been having a problem getting the jack underneath the left-hand side of the car, and losing spots on pit road, never what you want, especially at a short track like this, right, Steve?
No, you're absolutely right, Marty. And what they can do is you see this jack right here. This is the pad right here that actually goes underneath the car to jack the car up. So what they're going to do is they're going to change the jack. So if the car's too low, the 2 crews have different height jacks. The reason you wouldn't use the lowest one all the time is because the right side of the car, where it's up in the air, it's harder to place that jack underneath there. So now that they have a problem on the left side of the car, they'll have to change it. But unfortunately, it took a few pit stops and a few lost spots to get there.
That jack weighs about 35 pounds. And remember, those guys can come to pit road, change 4 tires, 18 gallons of fuel in the gas tank, and they do it in about 11 seconds.
I still believe this. I know the 4 cars not having the kind of night we've expected them to have, but you know, much like Hendrick Motorsports, they've set this example of how good they can be. You think about the laps Kevin Harvick has led, think about all the points they've gained going into this championship. You have to consider them to be one of the favorites.
Absolutely. 10 second place finishes for Kevin Harvick. Right now, Matt Kenseth dominating at Richmond. Matt Kenseth has been out front for 134 laps. The most laps led here is by Matt Kenseth. 140 laps back in April of 2013. That presented by Sprint. Follow Miss Sprint Cup on Twitter now for a chance to win an autographed hat from tonight's Victory Lane. Who will be in Victory Lane tonight as we've completed 173 of the 400 scheduled laps? Matt Kenseth has been dominant.
You see him trying to put Paul Menard a lap down. That's exactly what we talked about early in the race. Clint Boyer, that's what he wants to see. He wants to see Paul Menard get a lap down. Clint Boyer's worked his way up to 18th, so that gives him a little bit of an opportunity to gain some spots in case we have a new winner. The guy that's 16th in points now, he would be bumped out. So that's an opportunity for Clint.
And Clint Boyer right now 3 points behind Paul Menard, so 3 more positions and they would be tied in the points. 4 more positions and Clint Boyer would take himself off the bubble.
And so right now, the 27 car, Paul Menard, their race has just begun. He's got to do everything he can to stay the first car 1 lap down, because if he does and the caution comes out, he'll get the free pass and get back into the lead lap. So you see Trevor Bayne behind him. He's racing. He's trying to do his best to keep him behind him to not lose that lap.
As they're running, Jamie McMurray, of course, in once the green flag drop. The others looking at points. Newman, Gordon, and Menard. And Boyer all above the cut line. Again, 16 drivers will make it in.
And all these teams have their engineers looking at these points, trying to make sure they understand where they are on the racetrack, what position they're running, what they're going to have to do, because they may have to base their strategy on that. They may have to make a gamble that they really don't want to make in case of a situation coming up like we're seeing with Paul Menard. They'll be paying attention to this all night long.
You know who doesn't have to worry about points is Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson just needs to worry about the win, and that's what we're seeing out of this 42. You know, when I looked at those points as they run, those guys were in the 20s, the 30s, the high teens. Kyle Larson in this 42 team, they've got this Target Chevy all the way up to 6. He's run very well. He's run consistent. This is the guy, at the beginning of the year, we all had Kyle Larson circled as, oh, this will be his breakthrough year. He's going to get the victory lane. And it starts with a run like this. They just have to start incrementally getting better, Mike, and eventually they'll break through.
And you make a great point, Steve, too. He only needs to worry about the win, and it was reflective in his attitude and the team's mindset going into this race. Chris Heroy told me this morning, he said, look, you live for moments like this. If you're a sports fan and you follow college basketball and you're a Cinderella making it through the brackets, it's kind of like the situation we're in right now. He feels good about it. He feels like he's got a shot at maybe walking away with a victory and punching his ticket to the chase.
The other thing we've got to keep our eyes on is this is the longest green flag run we have had tonight. They've gone 55 laps, which means now we've got to start looking at the tire situation as far as that fall off and those wearing out on these cars.
Yeah, whose car is handling the best that allows the driver to manage the tires, drive straight above the corner. Now, what I mean by straight is you're not going to see it. What I mean by straight off the corner, it's inches. Jeff, explain. It's so small. What I want the driver to do is roll around the corner a little bit farther, get a little bit of steering wheel out. So when he puts the power down, that car is driving as straight as it can, not burning up those rear tires.
What you're trying to do is load both rear tires the same. When you're turning the car, you're putting more pressure on one rear tire than the other. So the straighter you can be, the more you're loading both rear tires and hopefully not spinning one more than the other.
The other big issue is right front tires. We saw the tire doesn't wear out, but the brake heat is so severe that last night in the Xfinity race, they melted some beads, tires went down, and they got into the wall.
And the bead is where the tire actually adheres to the wheel.
Where the tire touches the wheel. As you can imagine, we see these brake rotors glowing. Well, only a ½ inch above this rotor, it's the wheel. And what's touching the wheel? But a rubber tire. And if that rubber melts, the air comes out, it's never good. And how about the leader, Matt Kenseth, in all kinds of traffic?
Matt Kenseth trying to keep his lead over Denny Hamlin and teammate Kyle Busch. Kelly?
Brakes and tires an issue, as you just said. Well, Kyle Busch raced in the Xfinity Series race last night, which may have given him a heads up of what to expect tonight. Here's what he said on the radio.
I'm getting that rear deck slide, rear tire slide, getting into 3. Brake chatter has been a big issue all night. Indoor, man. Don't forget about your lever, your white switch.
So you can hear the struggles there of Kyle Busch. I asked his crew chief, Adam Stevens, what notes he passed along from the Xfinity race. He said, I got some good stuff, but I'm not telling you.
Well, that was a great example of the tools that these drivers have behind the steering wheel. You heard his crew chief tell Kyle Busch, hey, don't forget about the lever. The lever, I'm assuming, in these Joe Gibbs racing cars, adjusts the brake bias. As you move the lever forward, it has more front brake, less rear. If you move the lever back. So if he's sliding the rear tires into 3, but maybe not in turn 1, that's something Kyle Busch could do every lap. He could go down the front stretch, have the brakes, say, in the middle, go down the back stretch, move them back to the front. And the white switch, you know, who really knows? Maybe a brake fan, maybe a tire fan. Those are all the codes these crew chiefs will talk in.
You heard him say brake chatter. That's the front brake rotors. They get either too hot or too cool, and they'll actually start shaking. The driver gets in the corner, he can feel it. It's a very violent shake. You can feel it in the steering wheel, you can feel it in your foot. You can start turning fans on and off, trying to get the temperature where they need to be. We have those problems at Richmond. This is a heavy braking racetrack. In my opinion, this is one of the heaviest braking, including Martinsville. It's as heavy as Martinsville. Very hard to get your brakes set up exactly the way you need them.
A lot of battles going on. Matt Kenseth out in front for the race lead. But how about Clint Bowyer and Paul Menard? Clint Bowyer now 15th in the point standings, 2 ahead of Paul Menard. Start your engine! The action is about to pick up.
So much quicker than a 22. This is your year. If you make some people mad, you make them mad.
Win and you're in. Hamlin right there. 46 goes around.
That's short track racing.
These two fighting for a position in their teammate. Sprint Cup, my AFib Risk.com 400 next Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, Xfinity Series Racing, Chicagoland at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR is on NBC SN. Matt Kenseth is on rails here at Richmond.
See, he just left Casey Kane, another guy that needs a win, try to get himself in the chase. Sam Hornish Jr., we saw him not pit when other people pit. He has more laps on his tires. He hasn't fallen back that far, though. He's still running 18th. When he pitted, he was running 19th, so it wasn't that big of a loss.
And I was wrong. I thought those tires were going to be a huge disadvantage, and it has taken 72 laps, the longest green flag run of the night, for Sam Hornish to get laps. So I really believe that a timely caution, 20 or 25 laps into this run, and that would have been a good strategy.
Matt Kenseth's pace is just so fast. I mean, the next guy to lap is Austin Dillon in 17th. So that shows you how fast this car Matt Kenseth is, just going through the field so quickly.
Be thankful he has a couple Joe Gibbs Racing teammates behind him, because Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch are the only ones within 10 seconds of Matt Kenseth. Jamie McMurray, great recovery from a poor qualifying effort, running 4th.
And we would say that Clint Bowyer is running well. He's running 15th, so he's moved up, and he's helped his points position. He's currently 15th in the point standings, but ultimately he's in a bad position to get lapped here in maybe a lap or 2, because he's got Matt Kenseth coming.
Yeah, but he just continues to run his race. That's what he has to do. He's fought back to 15th. He can't panic. He's been relatively calm on the radio, and you see here he's working on the 41. That's a far cry from where he was when he started the race. He could barely stay in the top 30. Kelly?
Clint Bowyer said he was going to race his heart out for the 200 men and women who work at Michael Waltrip Racing, who deserve another chance to fight for the championship. Clint Bowyer, unusually quiet on the radio. The team thinks he's just focused on the task at hand. His biggest complaint, just a little bit loose in and tied off.
Loose in, tied off.
That's a classic move right there, Jeff. Enters the middle of the racetrack, gets it turned, gets that great run down the hill.
They just made that really high entry. It was that Richmond offers you that opportunity because of the big sweeping entries. He just stayed up really late, never got to the bottom of the racetrack till he was leaving turn 2. Dave, you have something on the 41?
Jeff, you see him going the wrong way. That was a top 5 car just 60 laps ago. But on this run, after he started out saying it's loose and it comes to me, he said, quote, I feel like I'm chunking a left front. And then more recently, he said, I feel like that left front has more air in it than it's had all weekend long. So Kurt going the wrong way. Needs an adjustment.
a lot of drivers, I'm sure, going to be wanting an adjustment, but they're feeling something that they haven't felt all weekend, and that's because they've been on the racetrack under green flag conditions for 78 laps. This is the longest run anyone has had on these tires.
And we know these tires were built to wear out. We know they were built to lose a lot of speed. So whatever handling issues you have, they just get worse. A lot like we saw last week at Darlington. Those tires were built the same way. They're built to wear out, to hopefully give cars that are in the back, cars that are built to have better setups for longer runs to be able to take advantage of it. Now, Matt Kenseth, he's got a setup for the short run and the long run. Right now, he's just beating everybody in both categories. But that's what this tire is all about.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth is definitely set up. In the top 5, Jamie McMurray. Dave.
And Rick, you saw him lose a position to Jimmy Johnson right there. His car's a little too tight in the middle right now. He's been both pessimist and optimist tonight. Early on, he said, it's horrible. But then they told him, you're the fastest car on the track. And then later, he said, guys, this car is really good. We just need to believe we can do it. Marty?
Dave, earlier, Brad Keselowski had a top 3 car, then lost track position because they went the wrong way on an adjustment. They've undone all of those adjustments now. Restarted 9th on this run, has worked his way up to 6th here. He said the car is tight right in the middle. He said, I'm doing everything I can. You see him go up the track right there to get it to turn in the middle of the corner. That's where he's really struggling. Paul Wolf told me they're going to pit about lap 215 or so. Mike?
Marty, one of the reasons crew chief Chris Heroy of the 42 team was so confident coming into tonight was because he saw great tire wear throughout the course of the weekend. That's been the case here tonight. Although they are losing a little bit of ground on the competition as we speak, Kyle said he was over-rotating the corner a little bit, and he's losing his forward drive off. Meanwhile, another guy who's looking for a win tonight to punch his ticket, that will be Eric Almirola. He told me this morning, he said, there's only one way to approach tonight's race. He said, look, we're an underdog, but we can't get over our heads early. We need to race the first 75% of this race the way we normally would. But then in the last 25%, then we need to go for it. We're not right at the 75% mark, but we're getting closer. Kelly?
Casey Kane, another driver that needs to get a win to get in the chase, but his crew chief, Keith Run, said, I'm approaching tonight just like any other race. I don't really feel the pressure as others might. He said, as long as everyone on our team does their job to the best of their ability, that's all we can really ask for. Casey started 20th, he's 19th, now 18th, hasn't really been able to do much, but he said his brakes have started vibrating, and he's lost front grip, and in the car, we've got a caution, Rick.
Yeah, cautions come out for debris on the racetrack. This is the 4th caution that's come out. And couldn't have been timed better for quite a few of these teams, because after going for 85 green flag laps, a lot of drivers wanting to make sure they get to pit road. And really ideal for the 15 of Clint Boyer. He stays on the lead lap.
Matt Kenseth had gotten to the rear bumper of Clint Boyer, getting ready to put him a lap down, so that caution saved Clint Boyer.
Big break for the 22 and the 19 as well.
Yeah, the 22, he had stayed on the last caution. You know, he had lost some positions, but the 19 was definitely losing some spots. This caution helped him as well. You see right here, this is right before the caution. You see Matt Kenseth, the leader, catching the 15, looking underneath him. It was going to only be a matter of time before he passes the 15 to Clint Boyer.
So Clint Boyer will stay on the lead lap. There were 14 on the lead lap. We'll get a free pass. More than likely that will go to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He was the highest car scored a lap down. Pit road is open, which means we will be seeing everyone duck onto pit road. Grab 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
Now, with only 14 cars on pit road, you can take time to make some changes. If your car's not exactly right, if Boyer, Earnhardt Jr., Harvick, if those guys think that they need to make their cars better, they can sit on pit road a little while to work on their race cars to see if anybody takes advantage of it.
That's a great point, Jeff. You could pull a spring rubber. That takes more time. Maybe reach in, adjust the shock. There are certain adjustments you wouldn't think of, but with extra time, you could make them.
And the reason extra time is the furthest you're going to fall back is 14.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mike.
And Jimmy Johnson saying his car is a little bit tight in traffic, but loose on entry. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment and a chassis adjustment for the 48 team, along with 4 tires and Sunoco race fuel. Denny Hamlin, meanwhile, very fast race car. He doesn't want any adjustments. They'll make a slight air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change there as well. Kelly?
The team's struggling to hear Matt Kenseth over the radio in that 20 car in the lower right, but it sounds like he's happy with his car over the long run. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, his teammate next to him, said he's just way too loose. I can't keep the pace. I'm losing ground to the 20. 4 tires and fuel for the 18.
We're 12 laps past the halfway point of this, the Federated Auto Parts 400 from Richmond International Raceway. Welcome back to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Sunday nights is football night. Eli Manning, the Giants face Tony Romo and the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Bob Costas, Dan Patrick host Football Night in America. Live coverage from Arlington, Texas begins 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on NBC. Marty.
Well, Rick, a few panicked moments on Brad Keselowski's radio towards the end of that last run when he could no longer hear a spotter, Joey Meyer, listening on the radio.
You got really distant on me, Joey. I can barely hear you. I'm working on it. Yeah, I got you, Brad. We're having a hard time hearing him, too. I'm on top of the truck. I can try to help him if you want me to.
And guess who jumped in and saved the day? Roger Penske, spotting from a suite. It's a good thing when your owner loves to spot. Roger Penske certainly loves to spot, and nice when he can jump in and lend a helping hand, right, Jeff?
Yeah, no question. Having somebody like Roger Penske with all his racing knowledge, you know, can get on the spotter, get on the radio and spot. That is a great advantage.
And the lights are off on the pace car, meaning this time around we will see the green flag once again. 216 laps complete, 184 to go. When they come back to the stripe, it'll be 183 laps remaining in the regular season as we get ready for the start of the chase, which will take place next week. Out of turn 4, green flag back in the air. Big move early by the 18 of Kyle Busch, trying to take the lead away. Leading in Richmond. Fifteen cars on the lead lap. Running 15th is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He got the free pass. Clint Boyer fighting for a spot in the chase. He's running 13th. Another driver that's fighting diligently to get into the chase, Eric Almirola, running in the top 10. He is 8th. Almirola on the high side of a 3 wide, just outside of the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Gonna fight for 3rd now. Keselowski, Denny Hamlin. Keselowski taking away 3rd from Denny Hamlin. And he did it on the high line. Drivers that are in the chase will have a green bar underneath their name. If you're in the top 16 in points, a yellow bar under your name. Matt Kenseth has been so dominant tonight, leading 179 of the 221 laps, but now his teammate Kyle Busch is in front. Will Kyle be able to stay in front of that 20? Let's put about a half a second between the two. Brad Keselowski running 3rd, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, all in the top 5.
Saw Kyle Busch make a real aggressive move on the start of the race, on the restart rather, and I'm not sure NASCAR is looking at this really hard. Watch Kyle Busch. The rule is you can't change your lane until you get to the start-finish line. He certainly started to change his lane before he got to the start-finish line. That's a tough call. It's really close. We'll see what they say.
And that's a big, restarts have been a hot topic of discussion in all the drivers' meetings the last few weeks. It's something that a lot of drivers are being very vocal about because, listen, that's where positions are gained or lost. You have to be very, very aggressive to try to get positions. You see Matt Kenseth here working to run the 18 back down.
It's normally the closest you are to your competition, so it's the most advantageous to try to take those positions away. And again, Kyle Busch got the lead on the restart after he restarted on the inside of row 2, made the aggressive move right before the start-finish line to the inside of then race leader Denny Hamlin. And now he's trying to stay out in front of the 20 of Matt Kenseth. And both drivers locked into the chase, so in the big picture, not fighting for the points to stay in contention for the chase, but fighting for a win. And you see the 18 almost looks like he moved over for the 20.
I think he saw the 20 coming pretty hard. Having said that, now he's turned underneath the 20, taking a look at him. But I think everybody knows right now the 20 is a class in the field. Maybe get real close to the 20, try to see where he's beating you, try to pinpoint where your car is weaker. Sometimes that's the smarter thing to do. They're going to give you the checkered flag on lap 400. So try to look at your competitor to see where he's beating you.
McMurray and Logano are fighting for the 6th spot. Logano's taking it away from Jamie McMurray.
It's a great recovery from Joey Logano. They chose to stay out in the a couple cautions ago, lost their track position on that long run. He's fighting back up into the 6th position.
A little bit of contact between some cars, which we were expecting on a short track.
Yeah, 3 wide. You see the 9 car of Hornish, Danica Patrick, David Reagan, all getting in the corner together. It's just tight. I mean, that continues on off the corner as well. 3 wide at Richmond on corner entry never works.
Inside on the bottom. You got into inside, top of 3. That was the 10, gotcha. Top of 3 right here.
A little bit of rubbing.
Inside.
Bumping and banging. You see some of the green paint on the 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. Matt Kenseth has been able to get back out in front here at Richmond. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Matt Kenseth still in front here as we race from Richmond. The 26th race of the 2015 season, the last race of the regular season. NASCAR did look at that restart, Jeff, that you had brought up, and after looking at it, they decided that no penalty would be assessed to the 18 of Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch dropped back to 2nd. Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano continue to be the top 5. Logano seems to be the man on the move, moving in the right direction, heading toward the front. Jimmy Johnson's dropped back out of the top 5. Jamie McMurray, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are the top 10. Let's go through the field. Brought to you by Hardee's. Kelly?
Starting with Matt Kenseth, who is closing in on 200 laps led in this race. I talked to his engineer, Mike LaRussa, and asked him what the atmosphere has been like at Joe Gibbs Racing with all the success that they've been having. He said, hey, it's a positive place to work anytime, but there is a noticeable difference. He said it feels a lot like 2013 when we had 7 wins and we were the favorites headed into the chase. He said everyone works hard in this business, but when you start bringing trophies back to the shop, everyone's a little bit more motivated to stay that extra hour, give that extra effort, and that has certainly been the case at Joe Gibbs Racing. And behind him, that's his teammate Kyle Busch in the 18 car. His crew chief Adam Stevens told me today that this is an important race because it's all about momentum. He said you can have good equipment, but you still have to execute. And with the way that the chase is formatted, so much can happen in 3 races for each round. He said it could just kill your year. We need to be firing on all cylinders as we head in, Mike.
And Kelly, talking with Dave Rogers, crew chief of the 11, he said he felt like their Richmond package had been off the last few races here, so they made some adjustments to their setup. One thing they didn't take a chance with, they brought a great race car. This is the car they won the All-Star race with. Dave Rogers was extremely confident would be good tonight. It has been. The only thing that Denny has asked for is a little bit more wedge next time down pit road. Marty?
Mike, you see right behind Denny Hamlin, his teammate, Brad Keselowski, trying to gain a little bit of ground on him. Finally figured out what was wrong with Joey Meyer, his spotter's radio. He said the mic actually got wet. He had to change headsets. That was a very fortuitous caution for the 2 teams. And when I asked Brad Keselowski his chances to win the championship, he said we have most of the elements there. The speed, certainly as good as it was when we won in 2012. Kelly?
Joey Logano now working his way back forward. Remember, he lost a lot of track position after they stayed out on a caution. He has won 3 of the last 8 short track races. I asked his crew chief what makes him a good short track racer. He said he's just a good all-around racer. If he ever has a weakness, he focuses on it to improve it, and he keeps car, Mike.
Kelly, it's been a solid night for the 48 and Jimmy Johnson, but it's been a lot of work. Johnson has worked various lines on the racetrack trying to find where his car would operate the best. In fact, with their adjustments, they've gone backwards now. They're getting back to their initial setup. The car's been tight in the center.
Mike, it's the same case for Jamie McMurray, who's lost one position since the restart. His crew chief, Matt McCall, is a pretty confident guy. I talked to him this morning about just starting this race and making the chase. He said, yeah, well, we expected to be here, so we would have been really disappointed if we hadn't made it. I get over accomplishment real quick. Behind him, speaking of accomplishment, four-time champion Jeff Gordon trying to make it into the chase. This year has been a thank you and a goodbye from a lot of his fans, but crew chief Alan Gustafson says, I got to work in this garage next year. So that's been my focus, and I hope that my future thinking is worth a little speed in the last 11 races. Marty?
Dave, when Carl Edwards was asked to summarize his season heading into the chase, he said, you know, our confidence started at about an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10 at the beginning of the season. Then we realized we had to go to work. But he said, now, with everything working as well as it is at JGR, the confidence is back to an 11. Right now for the Southern 500 winner, car too tight from the center off. But he told Gary Grubble a moment ago, it is better than it was on the last run, Mike.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has already gone to victory lane this year, so he is already in the chase. So this race takes on a different meaning for this race team. His crew chief Greg Ives told me today, he said, look, we'd love to win tonight, but at the same time, we need to prepare for the chase. He admitted, we're trying some things now that might help us at some of the other short tracks coming up. Some things that might help us at New Hampshire and Phoenix. Races that may ultimately dictate who wins this championship. They're happy with their performance right now, but they are learning for the future. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson, there is no guarantees he'll be racing for the championship. In fact, the only way perhaps he'll get in is by winning tonight. He said he leaned on his teammate, Jamie McMurray, earlier this week because they've run so well here in the spring. It helped them come up with a different setup, reset where they are, and it's made a difference. Kyle's been very happy, although just a little bit loose in. Marty.
Like we documented the issues with Kevin Harvick's pit stops earlier today. Couldn't get the jack underneath the left side of the car. Happy to report that on the last stop, everything went fine. They were able to get the car up on the left side. No issues at all. And in fact, chassis-wise, handling much better for Kevin Harvick on this run. He said it started out really good, but now is starting to plow, Kelly.
Cliff Bowyer doing what he needs to do to get back into the chase. When it was announced that Michael Waltrip Racing was closing its doors, there was no quit from the team, but crew chief Billy Scott said that just fits with the character of this company. Everyone has held their heads up through good times and bad. Right now, Cliff Bowyer said center rotation's pretty good. The car is getting better.
There was one point in this race where Eric Almirola felt like his car was much different than it was in practice. It was performing at a high level. He was moving to the front. But suddenly, recently, it seems like they've reverted back to the way they were in practice Friday. The car is very tight in the center, and it won't turn. Eric's not happy. Expect more adjustments next time down pit road. Rick?
And while we were going through the field, the 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. had a left rear tire go down, so they had an unscheduled pit stop. They had to make their way onto pit road. 147 laps to go, meaning we've got a couple more stops still.
We do, and what you heard right there, that report from Eric Almirola, is what makes what Matt Kenseth is doing so impressive. The 43 at one point drove all the way up to like 7th or 8th in the field, had great grip, but the track is changing. Something is changing his race car. But Matt Kenseth has led 207 laps. So even with the changing track, the rubber, while it's not heavy on the racetrack, it goes down and comes up under cautions. It's not affecting this 20 car. He continues to pace the field. The only difference I see is before where he would get off to a 2 or 3 second lead. Not this time. Kyle Busch has improved the 18 M&M's Toyota. He is running second, only a half second behind him.
Kyle Busch, after jumping out front, able to grab the lead for a few laps, 9 to be exact. It's all Matt Kenseth once again. Congestion of the lap down cars playing a role now in the lead. Matt Kenseth still has the top spot, but Kyle Busch has been able to close the gap as the two trying to weave their way through some of the cars that are already a lap down. Kenseth has now put all but the top 14 at least one lap down. Joe Gibbs Racing has been top 3 every green flag lap since lap 127. That's pretty dominant. The only one that's fallen out of the top 3 was Edwards, and he's running 9th now.
And we talked a little bit about it a little while ago. You know, we see the 18 car right there. He's been able to keep pace with the 20. The 20 got by him, but since then they've pretty much stayed that distance apart. So the 18 can make just a little bit of improvement in their car. They can maybe take a shot at the 20, but the 20's just been so hard. And one of the difficult things for the 20, they've been so good that how much do you work on it? You know, how much do you try to make your car better? All these other guys know they're beaten if they don't get better. So those guys are going to be working on their cars. Difficult time for the 20. How complacent do you get? One of the hardest things in racing is to know when to do something different. If you don't make your car better, someone else may and end up beating you.
And if you look at the big picture, Matt Kenseth has 3 wins already in 2015. The most any driver has won in 2015. Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch is 4 wins. You get bonus points for the first round of the chase. You get 3 points for every win. So if Matt Kenseth could go on to win, he's in a tie right now for the lead as they enter the first race of the chase. And still in the top 5, Brad Keselowski running in that 5th spot. Marty?
Hanging on to that 5th spot. Hey, Steve, I got a new one for you. Keselowski came on the radio about 15 laps ago and said, quote, "I'm dump trucking off turn 4." I would assume that means the car's a little tight. And you know what? If you're going to complain about the same thing all night long, Burton, as a driver, you might as well make up new phrases to call it, right? Everybody, tight in the middle and tied off. That's what Brad Keselowski's struggling with right now.
Yeah, Marty, rule of thumb for me in my racing career is comparing what you hope to be a good driving race car to really any other vehicle, especially a very heavy one that carries gravel, is never a positive.
Dump trucking. I don't really know what that means, but we're going to assume it's not good.
It must be a really fast dump truck because he's still in the top 5. Kenseth, Busch, Hamlin, Logano, Keselowski. Top 5 at Richmond. Welcome back to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Let's take a look at the Mobil 1 performance factors, Steve.
Yeah, listen, the 20 of Matt Kenseth has been dominating the field, but what is the Mobil 1 performance factors? The first one, this might seem simple. Keep your head up. Keep working on your car. This track is going to change. You have to try to get in front of it. Keep adjusting your car. Try to find some speed. And restarts, restarts, restarts. We saw Kyle Busch on the last restart go 3rd to 1st. Here he is staying 2nd, staying in touch with Matt Kenseth. The end of the Richmond race has a bunch of crazy restarts. I think tonight's going to be no different.
22 of Joey Logano trying to stay in front of Jimmy Johnson. Making the move back toward the front now. Jimmy Johnson running 5th. Keselowski, McMurray with a good run. He's in the top 10, running 7th. Jeff Gordon, his last Richmond race, running 8th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also in the top 10. Carl Edwards, after running in the top 4, has dropped back to 10th. Eric Almirola just outside the top 16 in points. But right now running 11th on the racetrack. Paul Menard, now the driver on the bubble. Clint Boyer has been able to get past him in points by 2 points.
I love the mental state of Clint Boyer. When Jeff talked to him at the top of the show, we talked about the bubble. He said they were looking ahead. They wanted to go outrun Paul Menard. He's hasn't loved his car tonight, running 13th, Boyer is, but he's consistently worked ahead and focused on outrunning this 27, and he's done just that. Gained himself a position because, look, the 6 far from over. While we have a bunch of chase guys in the lead, you never know. When it comes to restarts, anything crazy can happen. Maybe somebody stays on the racetrack. He has controlled his own opportunity to make the playoffs. I think that's key.
Here comes the 22 of Joey Logano all over the back bumper of Denny Hamlin. That's for 3rd. And it looks as though Logano is going to be able to make the pass on Denny Hamlin.
You have to wonder how Denny's feeling right now. You know, we're lap 279. This racetrack's very physically demanding. The back straightaway is fairly short. That's the only time you're never not turning on this racetrack. So it's a lot of G-forces all the way around this racetrack. I always thought it was one of the tracks that you became the most tired on. You have to wonder how his knee is feeling right now.
They've been racing for over 2 hours. So Denny Hamlin working very hard as we have just 120 laps to go.
You know, Denny's had a lot of injuries. He actually had an ACL on his left knee in 2010. Now he has an ACL injury on his right knee. So, you know, the one thing that has taught him, although you don't want to go through injuries, is how do you deal with this? You know, he's been there, he's done that, he's experienced it. He's had success with injury with his left knee. So I think although you don't want to have injuries, that experience helps you.
Mike Massaro.
And you talk about that injury, and you wonder how he's feeling inside that race car. And I've inquired a little bit with the team. I asked him if he said anything about his knee, and they just looked at me and said, look at the scoreboard. He feels pretty good.
Well,
running well.
Yeah.
Helps a lot. Better. Helps a lot.
Pretty good medicine. Running up in the top 5, leading laps.
I think emotionally, too. I think a lot of people, you know, he didn't qualify well, and I think a lot of people said, hey, he didn't qualify well because he had a knee injury, you know, and I think you heard those rumblings. Here you see the 9-car Sam Hornish Jr. He had to pit on the green. He has fresh tires, so you can see what new tires matter. But, you know, Denny Hamlin saying, look, there's nothing wrong with my knee hurts, yes, but that's not going to interfere with our performance, and I think this performance tonight is showing people that.
Yeah, we talked about Paul Menard. Well, his teammate with 31 of Ryan Newman also trying to punch his way into the chase is looking good in his points position this evening. But this is a team that last year made it to the final round, but they did that by being consistent. And Marty, while that was the blueprint they used last year to get to Homestead, I just don't sleep well using that blueprint. I think teams need to win races to make it to Homestead.
Well, and I talked to Luke Lambert about that today, Steve, and he said really they had a big philosophy change after the Pocono race in early August. In that race, many teams short-pitted, tried to make it to the end, and ran out of fuel. Ryan Newman's team was one of those teams that had that happen to them. They finished 23rd that day. He said Monday morning they had a meeting after that race, and they said no more gambles. We're going to be conservative. We're just going to try and make our way into the chase by just getting top 15 and top 10 finishes. And while it works for them, you're right. You want to be up front and you want to be leading laps. Ryan Newman said that earlier this week. If we want to contend for the championship this year, I would love for us to be running up front a little bit more and leading some laps. But, Jeff, that certainly works for the 31 team, doesn't it?
Well, no question. I think they do it better than everybody. I mean, they do a better job of collecting points. If you look at the laps they've led, the top 5s, all those things, this isn't the fastest car. Luke Lambert does a great job with his strategy. And then, you know, Ryan Newman, he gives track position on restarts. Luke Lambert puts him in a position, and then Ryan Newman takes advantage of it on restarts, and that's how they've done what they've done.
I know, Jeff, but I hate the prevent defense, and that's what I hear there. I hear we're just going to block and tackle, try to play simple, try to get to the end. This team and Ryan Newman are in a 77 winless streak. 77 races. If they're going to compete with the other 15 cars that make the playoffs, they're going to have to end up in victory lane.
Last year, it was as if they flipped a switch. When they got to Homestead, they were competitive, racing for the win, and it looked as though there was something taken off of, like a restrictor plate, almost taken off of Ryan Newman as he was able to challenge for the lead, and we have the caution once again. Kevin Harvick was just lapped. He was scored 14th, 1 lap down, but because of the caution, we will get a free pass, and more than likely it will go to Kevin Harvick. He will get back on the lead lap.
I wonder how many free passes the 4 has got this year, because I don't bet it's many.
Very many. I would say that might be one of the first. Pit road is closed. The caution has just come out, and the pace car will collect the entire field. Once NASCAR has deemed that everyone is caught up.
The other thing that's happened,
that debris.
The other thing that's happened, you know, the 20 of Kenseth have been so fast that he's gotten so many cars between himself and the second place car. When they come on pit road, he comes on with such an advantage. It's taken a lot of pressure off his pit crew as well. You know, he has a 4 or 5 car length advantage as he gets to his pit stall. So his pit crew's been able to slowly do tire changes without a lot of pressure. Let's see if he's able to keep that. If all of a sudden the pressure gets put on those guys, can they stand up to it?
And I want to see if Jason Ratcliffe can continue to make the right adjustments. It's amazing me. When you lead that many laps, it's hard to keep cranking on your race car, making changes, but that's what you're forced to do, because as this track cools, as the competitors behind you make adjustments, they're going to try to make their cars better. And now the pits are open, Rick.
Pit road is open. Steve, you mentioned earlier, fuel run anywhere from 110 to 115 laps. We're 110 laps to go. Mike.
Jimmy Johnson saying his entry and his exit are pretty good, but he's real tight in the center. He's been playing with the track bar quite a bit. They're going to make a chassis adjustment, an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires, and fuel. Kelly?
Kyle Busch in the upper right had a vibration for a couple laps, but it seems to have worked itself out. He said, I want more of what you gave me last time for longevity, 4 tires and fuel for him. Below him, Matt Kenseth, who's been absolutely dominant, said his center is tight, which is hurting his exit. That's suffering 4 tires as well for the 20. And Joey Logano, the 22, has worked his way back up into the top 3. Said it was just a little bit tight, not too bad. 4 tires and fuel for the 22.
And the safety truck getting the debris off of the track, actually involved in a little bit of an incident. The 95 hits the safety truck. Tonight's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. It has been great pictures that we have received from high above. Quicken Loans and NBC Sports are giving NASCAR fans a chance to win big during the chase for the Sprint Cup. And when I say big, $16 million if you could pick out the perfect grid. That's at NBCSports.com/grid challenge. $16 million. Rutledge Wood, I know you could spend $16 million on a pretty big party at the end of the race, right?
Rick, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I started to notice we're almost 3/4 of the way through this race. Some of these crew guys are starting to get a little bit sore, a little bit tired. So I found this stationary bike down here in the 2 crew. Plus, then someone else was out handing out ice cream. So it's a really interesting time. We're going to see possibly more mistakes being made on pit road because these guys are starting to get a little worn out, a little tired. You're going to see more guys stretching and hopefully more ice cream being handed out down here. But Rick, huge party after the race. Don't forget, buddy.
Looking forward to it. We have had a few pit road penalties, and NASCAR has actually asked the 95 driver, crew chief, and spotter to the hauler at the end of the race. That was the car that was involved in running into the safety truck that was on the back stretch. Pace cars off the track. Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano making up row number 1. Green flag back in the air. Penalties that I had mentioned as we see him go 2 wide still for the lead, and the 18 of Kyle Busch was looking to the inside, but now he's dropping back and fighting for that 3rd spot with the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, as Joey Logano making the move on the outside, trying to take the lead away from Matt Kenseth. Drivers involved with penalties, the 1 of Jamie McMurray, the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Here comes the 20 of Matt Kenseth back to the front. Also the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Too many men over the wall.
Show leader, the 20.
He's heard that a couple times. 250 laps led for Matt Kenseth of the 298 that have been run. Very dominant performance for him. But the mistakes on pit road, Brad Keselowski speeding, the 1 of Jamie McMurray speeding, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, too many men over the wall.
Yeah, the 4 of Harvick, they come back on pit road to work on their car during that stop. They actually came back. They pitted once, they came back again. They made an adjustment on the toe, and that's why they're so far behind. They use those extra men probably to get more work done. But if you look, the 4 car is just ahead. If you look way ahead of the 20, you'll see the 4 car. They just got out in time.
Trying to stay on the lead lap. Joey Logano trying to stay in front of the 18 of Kyle Busch. And what's happening with the 4, Marty?
They actually wound up hitting 3 times on that stop. Harvick said, we made the car worse on the last 3 consecutive stops. He said, I just cannot get this car to turn. In fact, one point in that run, he said, I got one word for you. Terrible. So what they did is they put their 4 tires on, made a couple of adjustments, and Rodney Childers brought it back down pit road and adjusted the toe on the race car. That's a huge adjustment in the middle of a race, isn't it, Steve?
That is a big adjustment. That's basically the toe is when you stand behind the car looking at both front tires, you expect them to be pointing in the same direction. Well, you could tow them in, which is point the 2 front tires at one another, or tow them out, point them away from one another. And we're talking very small adjustments. 1/16 of an inch are a big adjustment, but Kevin Harvick is very adamant about what he's feeling with it. And when you talk about front grip, there's not a magic knob that you turn to gain front grip. You have to change the chassis settings, but toe is not one that you would normally hear during the race.
And they're here to win this race. They said they figured they could not win the race the way they were. They may as well come in and make a change. They lost a lot of track position, but if you can't win the race and you're in the position they're in with points, why not go for it?
Denny Hamlin 48 of Jimmy Johnson side by side. Hamlin fighting through a torn ACL and doing it admirably tonight as he runs fourth.
And we see right here, we see Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack. While they have not shown the speed that the Joe Gibbs Racing cars have tonight, what they have done a very good job of is executing. They've taken cars and consistently made them better, had good pit stops, had good restarts. And while 5th, 6th, and 7th are not the goal of these three race teams, it is what they are going to have to do in the chase, Jeff. You can't just say, well, we're not fast enough and give up. You have to continue to work on your race cars, but then the drivers behind the wheels and the pit crew on pit road have to fight with the car you have every night, every race.
Less than 100 laps remaining, 94 to go in the Federated Auto Parts 400 as the battle continues between teammates. We say NASCAR nonstop.
What makes a Subway footlong the biggest, bestest sandwich on earth? You do. Because it's all about choice. Your choice. Of freshly baked bread, tender meats, melty cheeses, savory sauces, and your favorite vibrant, colorful veggies. The handcrafted Subway footlong. Nothing bigger, nothing better. In the end, the wrapper may say Subway, but it's got your name all over it. Subway. Eat fresh.
Sure, TV has evolved over the years. It's gotten squarer, brighter, bigger. It's gotten thinner, even curvier. But what's next? For all binge watchers, movie geeks, sports freaks, X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience TV.
Sprint asks, what makes a great family plan?
We need 4 lines.
And data. How about 4 lines with 10 gigs of data to share for $100?
Really?
Yep, that's way more high-speed data than any other national carrier offers for the same price, and you get 2 more lines than Verizon or AT&T.
But we're locked in our contract.
Not anymore. Sprint will pay off your old phone and contract so you can switch.
Goodbye, AT&T.
Everybody's switching to the best family plan from Sprint. Get 4 lines with unlimited talk, text, and 10 gigs of high-speed data to share for only $100 a month. And now get your new phone delivered and set up for free with Sprint Direct to you.
Your journey isn't about a single destination. It's about everything your Corolla can reveal to you along the way. The surprises you find 200 feet in front of you, and all the stories hidden up ahead. There are endless destinations waiting for you to find them. Discover more in a Corolla. Toyota, let's go places.
Geico insures all these vehicles. They have great service and great rates for great rides. And not insuring them with Geico, well, that's like being a race car driver with a really lazy pit crew.
That's bad even for practice.
Yeah, that's bad.
Geico. Great rates for great rides. See how much you could save.
Back to Richmond. Biggest mover tonight, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 24 spots. Presented by Sprint. Stop in at Sprint and cut your rate plan in half. Just bring in your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and turn in your old phone. With just 86 laps to go in the regular season, take a look at our chase grid. Because Matt Kenseth is out in front, if he gets the win, it will slide him into the second spot in the chase grid. With 4 wins, Jimmy Johnson will be the leader entering the first race of the chase. And again, each driver with a win gets 3 bonus points for each win, starting off after they reset the points. And right now on the cut line, Paul Menard. 24 points in front of Eric Almirola. Almirola still running in the top 10. He is 8th. Paul Menard still a couple laps down, running 24th. 2 laps down to Matt Kenseth.
And I'm sure Matt Kenseth and his team would take the win right now if you're going to give it to him, but that's just not how things work. How many times have we seen these races where a guy goes out and dominates? leads by far the most laps. Get a late caution, have a bad pit stop, bad restart, somebody makes their car better, end up winning, only leading maybe 20, 25 laps. So, you know, Matt Kenseth and his team, they've seen this picture before. This thing is not over. You never know until the race is over.
Closing in now on the 4 of Kevin Harvick. We saw Kevin trying to stay out in front, made some major adjustments to the car on the last set of pit stops. And he is running 14th, but trying to stay in front of that 20 of Matt Kenseth to stay on the lead lap. And that's the gap between Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth.
And I can assure you, with the success the 4 cars had, he's our defending champion. He's won races this year, led a lot of laps. They do not take pride. They take a tremendous amount of pride in having a chance to win races. I can promise you, he is not going to lay over and get lapped. He's going to put up a fight.
Very uncharacteristic of Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick as far as not really hitting it at a racetrack, because they've hit it at every track we've gone to this year.
But that's a great compliment, that running 14th, getting ready to go a lap down, is just so remotely far off that we can't believe it.
They would over-rotate just past.
Because basically they have set the bar so extremely high for everyone in this garage that the fact that they're not up there leading the laps, Marty, is shocking everyone, but it was bound to happen. And maybe what they need is a run like this to get, I don't want to say refocused, but maybe it'll help them moving into the chase, as odd that may seem.
Well, everyone expects him to run up front, and especially one of Kevin Harvick's best racetracks here at Richmond. You know, it's funny, I was talking to Rodney Childers about this afternoon, and you can talk about this, Steve. He said Richmond is one of the toughest places to get a read on your car in practice. Number one, you practice during the day, you race at night, so it's different there. But also with this newer tire, he said it's just really tough to get a read. And the funny part is, you walk through the garage area this morning, everyone said Kevin Harvick was one of the cars to beat this afternoon. So I think everyone's a little bit surprised they're running like they're running today. But talk about that, Steve. It's tough to get a read on your car in practice here at Richmond, isn't it?
It is, because not only is the track in the middle of the day, but these tires lose a tremendous amount of grip. So as you go out, you make a run, you come in, you might change a shock or a spring or the toe, like Kevin Harvick has changed here during the race. Well, when you go back on the racetrack, you don't have new tires again. Now you have older tires, and those scuffed tires give the driver a different feel. So I wouldn't panic if I was the four-car fan. I think Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers, their numbers are spectacular the last year and a half, year and 2/3. There's really no team in the garage that have been able to keep up with them consistently week in and week out. Joe Gibbs has had a good couple months. Penske has had some good time. But when the chips are on the line, this 4 and Kevin Harvick, I believe Rodney Childers and him will get together, understand how to approach the chase. They have the blueprint. They did it last year.
They did it a year ago, won the last 2 races to win the championship, right behind Kevin Harvick, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Kelly.
About 10 laps ago, Kyle came over the radio to discuss the changes they made last time down pit road. And remember that vibration I told you about earlier? Well, it sounds like it could be back.
That's how bad that is.
Here, Kyle, they're demonstrating just how bad that vibration is. He's got 4 wins here at Richmond, but only 1 top 10 in the last 5 times out here at this short track.
Well, we're talking about drivers needing to give good feedback. Made it as clear as he could make it, didn't he?
Not only did he tell me how to vibration, we could hear the vibration through the radio. Matt Kenseth out front. And welcome back to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Monday morning, Dan Patrick talks with tonight's Sprint Cup Series race winner from Richmond. Don't miss the Dan Patrick Show weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon on NBCSN. Dan Patrick will be very busy as Sunday Night Football picks back up. Chase kicking off next week, and one driver who is definitely going to be carrying momentum into that first race of the chase has to be Matt Kenseth. He has to come away from this race feeling very good after leading 287 laps tonight. Another driver with a lot of momentum, but on the outside of the chase looking in, Eric Almirola. Mike?
And yeah, Rick, he's got momentum, but he still has some more work to do as he makes a charge toward the front. As I reported earlier in the night, he told me that in the last quarter of this race, that's when they plan to really turn up the wick, so to speak. Well, here we are. We're in the final 25% of this race, and he's trying to make a charge toward the front, trying to overcome a tight race car. It hasn't been to his liking, but he's trying to get as much out of it as possible, Kelly.
Clint Boyer has just been gradually working his way forward throughout this entire race. He's now inside the top 10, which puts him 15th in the chase standings. First, they started by working on the entry and exit of this car. Then they worked on the center. He said he's a little bit tight. Clint's been pretty quiet over the radio, but he did ask at one point, how are we? And they said, hey, just be smooth. Stay where you are. We're good to go. Meanwhile, the 5 of Casey Kane was really in a must-win situation, but they just haven't been able to move forward after starting 20th. The car has lost its front grip. They can't get it back. Crew Chief Keith Rodden sort of scratching his head there atop the 5 box.
And Kelly, a few weeks ago, after winning the Xfinity race at Road America, Paul Menard was asked about his chase situation. He said, point blank, I don't feel comfortable right now. And you can understand why. He anticipated a battle moving into this final race, and this night has not gone particularly well. He's one of many who's been struggling in the center of the corner. The braking of his car has not been to his liking. That's really hurt his center and his drive forward. So he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to keep his fingers crossed that he holds on to this final bubble spot. Guys?
Trying to stay in front of Eric Almirola's charge to the front. Almirola 7th. Paul Menard 26th. There's still a pretty good gap there between the two as far as points.
There is, but what Paul Menard has done is he's put himself in position where he's depending on other cars. He has to have someone win the race that already has a win. If Eric Almirola improves his car enough and gets up and wins this race, being 16th in points, Paul Menard will be the guy on the outside looking in, going to the playoffs next week in Chicago.
It would take quite a bit, I believe, to get by that 20. Matt Kenseth has been dominant. He has a little over a second-and-a-half lead over second-place Logano. We stayed NASCAR nonstop, and look at how things are getting tight for Matt Kenseth as he comes up to the lap traffic, trying to get by these cars. Ryan Newman, one of the cars he's trying to put another lap down. Newman already 2 laps down to Matt Kenseth. That's how good Matt Kenseth is tonight. Kenseth has led over 300 of the 350 laps that we've completed. Only 50 to go in the regular season. 50 laps remaining.
I know Matt Kenseth has put on a display leading 302 or 350 laps, but we've seen this at Richmond before. Cautions breed cautions. If we get an opportunity to have a yellow here, if we get into the end of this race, we can have multiple restarts that quickly. Someone like Eric Almirola, who's done what he needs to do. He's running 6. That is one of the best runs for this 43 car in recent memory. He's put himself, you know, he's not the leader, but Jeff, he can see the leader. If we have a caution, if we have a restart, you never know how crazy a restart could be. If he can sneak through and be the guy, he can find himself in the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row.
Yeah, no question. And his speed's really good, and we've been watching lap times, and you know, he's the fastest car every now and then who'll run the fastest lap. So they've got a good car. They're going to need a break. They're going to need a good pit stop. They're going to need to, you know, to go from 6th to the lead is very, very difficult. But as you said, you get one caution, the guys get together. Next thing you know, you're running 4th. That happens again. Now you're running 3rd or 2nd. I mean, anything can happen. We've seen it over and over and over these races. You know, there's a lot of races I won that I didn't think I deserved to win. There were a lot of races I lost that I thought I had the best car all night long. So, you know, the fastest car doesn't always win these races.
And the intensity is going to ramp up. If we were to have another caution, guys getting that close to taking another position, you know that when the laps wind down, a lot of times the wire that connects the foot and the brain sometimes get disconnected.
Hey, listen, we're going to see right here Eric Almirola as he comes down the front stretch. Just take a look at how wide this entrance is to turn 1. When you get a late race restart, 2, 3, 4 wide into that turn 1, and it funnels down to 1.5, 2 lanes. These guys are going to have to get through there. with 46. There's a reason this is a 400-lap race. They don't give out trophies for leading the most laps. They don't give out trophies for leading practice. They give out trophies, Jeff, you mentioned it earlier, for the 400th lap. You must lead that one. It doesn't matter. No one cares how well you ran the whole race. We all talk about the winner. And while Matt Kenseth right now is dominating, he still has to close it out with 45 to go.
Yeah, this race has presented an opportunity for several teams. We've talked about Roush Fenway. You know, if they don't win this race, they're not going to be in the chase, and that's the first time ever. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is running 15th. I know that's not leading the race. I know that's not a top 5, but that's a step forward. These guys, they need something positive to happen. Running 15th right now, but where this company's been, that's a good thing. And I know that's a low expectation, but again, when a team is struggling, you got to find a way to make small gains. You typically don't go from running 25th to winning races. You got to find a way to get to where you can run 15th and then get to where you can run 10th. And this is a good step for this team.
Dave, it seems like a building block that they can build on for the remaining 10 races of the year.
Rick, one of the most compelling stories in this year's chase is going to be the young crew chiefs who are trying to lead their teams to a championship. And while Nick Sandler won't have that opportunity for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he hopes that he can at least steal a win from some of the chase participants. He's 33 years old. He's been with Roush Fenway for 9 years. He was most recently the lead engineer on the 99 car that folded after Carl Edwards left. Right there's the 19 of Carl Edwards on cue for Joe Gibbs Racing. So Nick is disappointed that the year hasn't been better, but he sees the future, and he likes the way Ricky drives, having to sometimes pull him back versus getting him pumped up to run fast.
Yeah, when you talk about the future and the future of the organization, you know, Ricky Stenhouse is very young. Trevor Bayne is very young. You know, these guys, I mean, Ricky Stenhouse is only 27 years old. So he has a long time in the Cup Series. So him running the way he's running, we have Greg Biffle in 30th. Ricky Stenhouse is in 15th. So like you mentioned, Jeff, while it's not a win, it is at least a step in the right direction, and they can build on it.
And it even goes further than that. You think about Roush Fenway with their Xfinity Series. They have Darrell Wallace Jr. They have Chris Buescher, 2 very young drivers that have shown a lot of promise. So, you know, if Roush Fenway can get moving in the right direction, they have a stable of drivers that they can go with for many years to come.
And we just heard Dave mention Nicholas Sandler, who is a rookie crew chief for the 17. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. How about rookie crew chiefs that are going to be making their first chase appearance? One of those, Adam Stevens for the 18 of Kyle Busch.
Listen, not only are these guys all rookies, they're also all engineers. This is what car owners want to see today, that being an engineer helps a great deal in being a crew chief. At least that's the pattern that they're trying to fill. We haven't seen a lot of championships won yet with engineers. However, that's what everybody's trying to make happen. They want, because of the technology available to these teams, they want the guy leading the team to be able to understand that technology. Every one of those new crew chiefs, every one of those rookies, first year in the chase, they're all engineers.
Yeah, what do engineers need? They go to school, they learn engineering, but they need some real-world application. And that list of engineers that are getting these positions, they've been raised in these race teams. Adam Stevens has been at Joe Gibbs for years. There's a few there that were at Hendrick Motorsports before. There's a lot of young guys that are coming with fresh ideas, and what this experience will do is give them some real-world application. So even if it isn't year one for some of these young guys, it's just like a young driver. You have to mature to learn how to make those gut decisions that are forced when you're on top of the pit box, and these young guys are going to learn it in the heat of the battle in the chase.
Rookie crew chiefs, and things will be heating up for them. Out in front, it's Matt Kenseth, definitely not a rookie. He's already won a championship, and tonight it's been a signature night for Matt Kenseth. Welcome back to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. Less than 29 laps to go, the last race before the chase. Paul Menard right on the cut line, only 18 spots in front of Eric Almirola. 18 points separating in the chase and out of the chase. And Eric Almirola is doing everything he can to get in. He currently runs in the 4th spot, has made his way up into the top 5, and continues to have the fastest or second fastest lap each lap here in the remaining laps.
Yeah, that's so important that he's worked his way up to 4th, because if we do have a caution, he comes on pit road, he comes on 4th. If they hold that position, now he restarts outside of row 2. That's a real chance to win this race. They win this race, we all know what it means, and he has a chance to win this championship. So he's done a great job of working himself into this position.
Just 27 laps to go. Steve, if a caution does come out, do we see everyone on pit road?
Absolutely. These tires are hot, they're slick, they're wore out. These tires have been falling off all weekend long. If the caution comes out now, it's going to be up to the pit crews. What driver can get in the box clean? What pit stops can be the fastest? We saw just last week at Darlington how the complexion of the race changed with a late caution. And there it is right there, a late caution with 26 to go.
26 laps to go. Now it goes back into the hands of the crew members. That's Kim Lopez, by the way, on the flag stand. This is her last race that she will be flagging. She was actually the first female to flag the Daytona 500 back in earlier this year to start the season. And the debris on the track brings the caution out once again. This is the 6th caution. And that will bunch everyone back up. Kenseth Logano, Kyle Busch, Eric Almirola. They're the top 4.
So once again, Matt Kenseth has a lot of cars between him and the second place car. You can't even see the second place car right now. So they can come on pit road, be calm, smooth, just not make any mistakes, and they'll still come out with a lead. The pressure starts to build behind him, though.
Yeah, and we talk about how race teams get experience. This is a team sport. Well, Eric Almirola, this is the time, guys. This is the time. If you're going to have a pit stop, this is the pit stop of the year. You come in 4th, come out 3rd, come out 2nd. That could be the difference. They could still make their way into the playoffs.
All right, crew chief, what do you do? What kind of a gamble can you make on pit road? Do you try to only tighten 3 lug nuts, 4 lug nuts to make a faster stop?
Well, I think on the left side, you absolutely could be down to maybe 3 lug nuts, but I think you do have to get 4 tires. I think 2 tires is not an option. I think the biggest thing is now, who's going to adjust their car for the short run? Put a little extra air in the tires. If you start loose and get tight, or start tight and get loose, adjust the chassis, adjust the air pressure, adjust the wedge. Make sure your car is dialed in for a 20-lap sprint.
Pit road is open. Kenseth on pit road. You don't want to make a mistake now. Mike.
No, you want to be absolutely perfect on this pit stop, Rick. And you talk about the chances teams are willing to take to possibly punch their ticket. Well, Trent Owens is saying no fuel, just a quick stop on the 43 car. They go to work on the right side. They're also going to make a chassis adjustment. Eric Almirola said he cannot afford to be any looser than he is. He's going to keep him as tight as he is right now. 4 tire change, he's away. Kelly.
Probably the biggest challenge for Matt Kenseth, some radio issues. He said the 20 took off good that last run. Meanwhile, his teammate Kyle Busch in the upper right said it was good and sporty, but tight center, free off by 4 tires and fuel for him. And Joey Logano said it was starting to get a little bit free, 4 tires and fuel for the 22.
And a really close race off of pit road between the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 43 of Eric Almirola. The final 20 laps of the regular season for the Sprint Cup Series from Richmond, presented by Smithfield Foods. What an incredible race off pit road by Eric Almirola. That team gambling, not adding fuel on pit road to try to make a little faster pit stop. The team needed to hit everything perfectly, and they were able to grab a spot away from the 18 of Kyle Busch. There's the race off pit road. And a close one it was.
That's what makes sports great, Rick. Who's going to rise to the occasion? The 43 car. They've been running 10th, 15th, 20th most of the year. Eric Almirola has done his best. Put that car up in front. The pit crew steps up, gains a position, starting on the inside. That wide entry to turn 1, Jeff. That's going to give the 43 an opportunity to turn left and get inside that 20.
Now the field will all bunch up behind the 20 of Matt Kenseth. Another near flawless pit stop for Kenseth and their crew. Joey Logano will be on the outside. Row number 1, Eric Almirola will be on the inside of row 2. Kyle Busch on the outside. Eric Almirola, the only one up front that has not won and has the possibility of punching his ticket for the chase.
So this racetrack presents an opportunity that not most racetracks present. You know, the front straightaway, look at this big radius that the front straightaway has. It gives the guy in 3rd, where we see Eric Almirola, it gives him an opportunity to turn left and kind of go straight. The guys on the outside, they're still turning. If you turn left, it's a shorter distance to turn 1. We see a lot of restarts here get 3 wide simply because of that. The opportunity is there. Mike?
Trent Owens now, the man who made that call for no fuel there. Has it given you the track position necessary to win this race?
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot to make something happen. You know, I just thought that our fastest pit stop would be without fuel, so paid off, gained us the spot. Race started out a little slow for us tonight, but made some good adjustments here on pit road and things come alive. So our long run's been our strength, so hopefully we can get some on the short run here.
They've got an opportunity, Rick.
Absolutely.
I want to know, Jeff, if you're Matt Kenseth, do you know that's that 43 behind you? Do you have to be a little more conservative, knowing what's on the line for him? Are you going to give him a lane, or if he's underneath you, give him a little more room?
You're not going to give him anything. You want to win this race. He's going to have to earn it.
Look at how tight they were, 1 and 2, when they come back to the start-finish line. How about the restart for Eric Almirola? He falls back to 4th. On the outside, the 18 of Kyle Busch, challenging for 2nd. Busch takes 2nd. Almirola in 4th. Under 18 laps to go. Kenseth with the best restart of the night for that team. To try to stay in front of his teammate. Kyle Busch in the 18. Joey Logano also has been out front. He runs 3rd. Logano runs in that 3rd spot, but has led 25 laps tonight. Kyle Busch has led 9. It's been dominant for Matt Kenseth, 336. The big story, the 43, Eric Almirola. Can he finish this race and punch his ticket for the chase?
Well, you just heard Trent Owens say that they thought they had a long run car. It doesn't get going as quick as the other ones, but now we're a couple laps into this run with 15 to go. Will the tires come in? Will the grip increase like he needs? Or will the group in front of him get racing, perhaps move up the racetrack and give him some room?
If he does get another caution, that could play into his favor. A long run car made restart better the 2nd time in comparison to other cars. So right now they're really, really hoping for another caution.
He's got the 11 of Denny Hamlin, who also has been strong here tonight on his back bumper. As the laps continue to wind down, Almirola needing to get to victory lane if he wants to fight for the championship in 2015. The points, as they're running 19 points behind Paul Menard, who's in 16th and on that cut line. Take a look at this restart once again.
Well, we've heard about how controversial restarts have been, and the competitors have been talking about it with the zone. You see Matt Kenseth is accelerating right here. The zone is right there. That white line, the leader is not supposed to leave before the zone. Matt, if anything, was a little early, but he's not setting a precedent there. This is what we've seen the last couple months. This is what the competitors are talking about, looking for some more direction on how to restart the race. I don't blame Matt Kenseth one bit. I'm here to win the race. Be aggressive, get the lead, make somebody make a ball and strike call.
Whatever you have to do to get the victory.
And he kind of, I think he took Eric Almirola by surprise. I think he left early enough. I think Eric was trying to lay back just a little bit and then try to get some momentum, so when he got to turn 1, he could make a move to the left. Kenseth was gone before Eric ever started his momentum.
Closing in on 10 to go. And NASCAR also looked at that restart, and no penalties assessed by NASCAR.
And that's what can be so frustrating about this sport, or so just a crushing blow. The 43 of Eric Almirola drove one of the best races of his career, give himself a position. The pit crew did it. They had everything going right, but a veteran driver on the front row, Matt Kenseth, he knows how to win these races. And that restart, it can be as simple as that. Right now, all the 43 can hope is that he gets another yellow and another shot at it.
I'm going to tell you who liked that restart a lot. It's Paul Menard. Because if Eric Almirola has a good restart, Paul Menard's in big trouble. You can see he's still struggling. He's a lot of laps down. If Eric Almirola would win this race, Paul Menard, he would be out.
Paul Menard scored 3 laps down, running 24th. Eric Almirola in the top 5, 4th. Was fighting for the win. Was on the back bumper of Matt Kenseth on that restart. And that's as close as he has come to the front. Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, and Denny Hamlin are the top 5.
And we're talking about Eric Almirola because he needs to win, because he's still 19 points behind Paul Menard. Just remember, 25 races. It took 25 races to get here tonight. That's less than 1 position a race.
And every one of these teams can go back and say, well, what about this race? What about that race? There's always one race you just felt like something happened to you that was completely out of your control. You just can never take that one race out of your mind.
Where could you have got 19 points? The 11 and 88. 88 on the bottom of the track, trying to get by, and does complete the pass on Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, it's a solid recovery for the 88. They didn't qualify very well and didn't have a lot of speed at the beginning of the race, but Greg Ivesandale Jr. worked on their car, got the back up to the front. How about Denny Hamlin with the torn ACL? Said it wasn't going to affect him, came in, stayed focused. I know he was looking for more than a 6th place run, but to come out here and prove to everybody that he could last 400 laps behind the wheel has got to feel good. And right behind him, in his final start at Richmond, the 4-time champ Jeff Gordon.
We talked about it, 27 to Paul Menard and that team. You know, this will be Paul's first time he's made the chase. And, you know, they've done a really nice job kind of managing their points all year long, much the way Ryan Newman's done. That was been the formula that 27 has used to get themselves in this position that they're in.
Last 3 laps of the regular season. Paul Menard fighting to stay inside the top 16. Matt Kenseth looking to put himself second in the chase grid.
Making a statement. What Matt Kenseth and this 20 team is doing right now is making a statement. The regular season is ending. We talked all week about who will get in the playoffs. Well, who will carry momentum? This is momentum for Matt Kenseth.
No bigger momentum. The last 6 races. Matt Kenseth has been dominant. If he can hang on for one more lap, he will get his 3rd win in the last 6 races. White flag in the air. Kenseth out in front. He's led 351 laps already tonight. Down the backstretch he goes. This will be his 2nd win at Richmond. Coming out of turn number 4. Kenseth wins at Richmond.
Oh, I can hear you. Way to go, baby. Nice work.
A valiant effort for Eric Almirola and the 43 team. The unofficial point standings say that he was 17 points short of making the chase. Drivers like Clint Boyer, Paul Menard doing what they had to do to get into the playoffs. Clint Boyer tonight unofficially coming home top 10. It was all Matt Kenseth tonight. His closest competition was most of the time his teammates. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, all running up front. And in the end, 352 laps led by Matt Kenseth out of the 400 run. A dominating performance as he celebrates with the crowd here at Richmond. Let's hear from the winning crew chief. He's with Dave.
Jason Ratcliffe was laying a little low earlier today because he wasn't feeling well. How are you feeling now?
Feeling about the best I can feel, actually. Yeah, a little under the weather this morning, but you know, with a support staff like I have with the guys on this 20 car, they do a fantastic job. I mean, came in here this weekend, had a great race car right off the truck, and obviously our Dollar General camera was pretty sporty tonight.
We questioned earlier whether you and I did, whether you peaked yet or not with this 20 team. Do you believe in momentum?
I believe 100% in momentum, and right now I would say we got a lot going into the chase next week.
I'd say they're right, Rick.
Absolutely. Fireworks, not so much on the racetrack tonight, on a short track run here at Richmond, but definitely overhead celebrating the win by Matt Kenseth. 16 drivers are happy because they'll be advancing to Chicago to run for the chase. Fireworks continuing overhead at Richmond International Raceway as Matt Kenseth puts on a dominating performance tonight, winning the last race of the regular season, putting him in a tie for the lead as we get ready to start the chase. Kelly Stavist.
Dominating indeed, over 350 laps led. It was the second most for Matt Kenseth in his Sprint Cup career. He now has 4 wins heading into the chase. Just his second time winning here at Richmond. The Gatorade splash. Matt, what a performance that you put on there today. Just absolutely dominant. You've now won 3 of the last 6 races. What sort of statement are you making as you enter the chase?
Well, the main thing I want to say is I'm glad that box isn't full because I would hurt my fist. But, man, these guys gave me a great car. Thanks to Jason, all these guys standing behind me. They had the pit stops we needed. They held serve every time and kept us out front. So we were really superb in the long run. I had to work for it pretty hard in the short run, and so I was disappointed to see that last caution. I knew it was going to be tough, but we were able to get the jump and get out front. So thanks a lot to Dollar General. Rick, I'm sorry, it's not a grandfather clock at Richmond. Sorry, buddy. But I want to thank Sprint, Dollar General, DeWalt, Toyota, TRD, Gatorade, Citizen, Wiley X, Cessna, and Reesters. We got great partners. Couldn't do it without them. Good way to go in the chase.
You know what it's like to be a champion. How does this team compare to what you had in 2003?
Man, that was so long ago, it's hard to, there's been so many rules changes, so many things are different, but certainly right now as a company we're on a roll. They've given me some fast cars here last couple months. Had a good one at Bristol and broke, and I was the GOAT last week and drove it in the fence early in the race and ruined our day with probably the best cars, so it feels good to come here and do everything right and get the win.
Momentum and 3 more points headed into the chase.
That will slot him second. As we look at the chase grid, it is now official. 16 drivers will have a chance at the championship in 2015. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Logano Harvick, Earnhardt Jr., all with wins. You have to go all the way down to Jamie McMurray, Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, Paul Menard, all getting in on points this season.
Yeah, and you think those bonus points from those wins doesn't seem like much. 3 points here, 6 points there. But with the first round, the challenger round of the chase only being 3 races before we eliminate cars, those bonus points could come in huge. We saw tonight how close it can get in one night. These guys having a little head start has to help, Jeff.
Yeah, no question. I just got to believe there's a tremendous amount of momentum going with Matt Kenseth. What those guys have been able to do, they got to feel great going into this chase. It's going to be interesting to see who can step up. The pressure's going to get ratcheted up all throughout this entire chase.
One driver has to be celebrating the fact that they got a top 5, but at the same time so close and just missing out on making it into the chase. Eric Almirola is with Mike Massaro.
One thing's for sure, Eric Almirola fought all the way to the very checkered flag. Came up just a little bit short, though. 17 points short of the chase. Your thoughts right now?
Disappointed for sure. I drove my heart out tonight, all year long, really. I feel like we've certainly overachieved this year. Our cars just haven't had the speed, and we've managed a way to get good results. And really proud of this race team. Really proud of all of our partners: Smithfield Foods, STP, Air Force, Ford Motor Company. Everybody's done so much to support us, and to come up short, it hurts. We were in it last year, and we got a taste of what it was like to be in the chase. And this race team's a great race team, and we wanted another shot at it, and we just came up short. So just wasn't meant to be.
Your crew chief, Trent Owens, rolled the dice a little bit in that last pit stop. No fuel, but it put you in a position right there where you had a shot in that final restart. What were your thoughts at that moment?
My thoughts were to drive as deep into turn 1 and push Kenseth out of the way and try and get the lead. But he fired really early, like 3 car lengths before the restart zone, which caught me and Logano off guard. And he just got a really good jump, and I wasn't able to get to him. I wasn't fast enough to beat those guys anyway, but I was certainly going to give it a shot, and I wouldn't have been afraid to put the chrome horn to him.
Eric Almirola disappointed with not making the chase, but shows a lot of class. Thanked his team over the radio as the checkered flag flew.
And another driver that was trying to win his way into the chase was Kyle Larson. He's with Dave Burns.
Kyle Larson knew it would take a win tonight for the 42 team. It wasn't quite there, Kyle. How was your night altogether?
Yeah, I mean, we ran about where we typically do here at Richmond, which is, right around the top 10. Was able to drive up to 5th at one point and kind of hold that for a while, which I thought was good. But I just wasn't very good. throughout a run, but especially the long runs. And I don't think anybody was beating Matt Kenseth tonight. He was super fast. So disappointing we aren't in the chase. I think everybody on our team thought the 42 would definitely be in the chase to start the season the way we ended last year, but that just wasn't the case this season. So we'll work hard these last 10 races to try and run strong for Target, get them a win, and you just work on being consistent. That's where we struggled pretty much all year long, is being consistent. So we'll work hard at that and try and like I said, finish strong.
Thoughts of Kyle Larson did not make the chase tonight.
Another disappointed driver. 16 happy ones though. And this will be the points as they reset to 2,000. And if you've won a race, you get 3 bonus points for each win. That happens only in this round. Once they've gone the 3 races, the 4 cars lowest in points will be eliminated as we move on to the next round. If you win, you automatically advance into the next round.
That's better than 3 bonus points, Rick. Nothing is more important in racing than winning. That's how we were all raised. That's what's important. That's why we get bonus points here, and that's why in the rounds of the chase, if you win, you advance.
And one of the names on that list, Paul Menard, standing by with Dave.
But I got to believe, Rick, it's a pretty rough way to make it into the chase. How would you describe your evening?
Yeah, Justin and I were just talking. We don't know if to be happy or sad. It was such a bad race for us. But, obviously very excited to be in the chase. It's a goal that we set at the beginning of the year. And everybody at RCR and the 27 guys and ECR, they work hard. And we've had a lot of good runs this year. Tonight just wasn't one of them, but we did what we had to do.
You made it on the strength of 4 top 10s, a couple of top 5s in there. What do you need to do now that you're in?
Well, everything resets now. So, Chicago's been a pretty good track for us, and I feel good about our intermediate track program. We had a fast car tonight. It just burned the left front tire off after like 30, 40 laps, and we started going backwards. Try to figure out what happened there, but Chicago's a whole new animal, and it's a track I really enjoy.
Okay, wipe the slate clean, just like the points.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we got to do.
All right, Paul Menard in the chase. Kelly?
Clint Boyer as well. He did more than what he needed to get in. You'll go in as the 15th seed. Clint, with Michael Waltrip Racing closing its doors at the end of the year, what does it mean to get this team into the championship fight?
Well, just to go through the year we've had, a lot of ups and downs here, a lot of downs, and then through the summer months, we shook things up and really catapulted the organization to get going and getting ourselves back in the swing of things of this championship hunt and the chase talk. So just super proud of Billy Scott, everybody, Dax, all the guys in the 5 Energy, Toyota, Brian Patty, he's gotten me to where we are. We made a crew swap there, but still he's a big part of this, just like all the other employees at MWR. We did this. Now we're in the chase. Pressure's off. Go Cat, go. Let's go have some fun.
All right, Clint Boyer deserves it. Top 10 finish for him tonight, Rick.
And, of course, Clint Boyer with a smile because he's in the chase, but another driver that missed out on making it into the chase, Casey Kane. Moments ago, Marty Snyder caught up with him.
Well, for Casey Kane, this is a tough one. You don't make it in. And let's first of all just walk through your night and kind of how the race went for you, Casey.
Well, I could take off all right on restart, so we could go for a little bit, and then I just get so tight with the front. Wouldn't turn, and I was having a couple other issues with brakes and stuff. But we tried to kind of fight through there. We got a lap down, and then once we didn't get the lucky dog, we ran in position for a while, and then we were too far back, and we ended up 2 laps down. Matt was really good. Ken said, those guys are fast.
What are the couple of things that you want to work on in the next 10 races, Casey, to get better for next year?
I think the main thing for me is just figuring out how to get a car to turn again. I've struggled all year to have front turn, and if I don't have that, I can't race. That's how I've been my whole life. So, we'll just work on trying to get the cars to turn.